I'd like to welcome everybody back to this session. This particular session, we're talking about the history of Nana Konede Shrine with Nana Akuya Parabia. So what I like to do is take the time to introduce who our speakers are. We have Okonfo Hini Nana Yaya Rinchi Opari Jebi the First. And we have Nana Kofi Asejua Ofori. Nana Hini, excuse me. Nana Arenchi is an Okonfo Hini for the Nana Surgery Shrine. He was born in Aquapem, Eastern region of Ghana, and is the nephew of Nana Oparebea. Nana Oparebea initiated, trained, and graduated Nana Yayarenchi in 1983 to 1986. As a graduate priest, he apprenticed under Nana Oparebea for 11 years from 1986 to 1994. He was installed as a Okonfo Hini for Nana Surgery in 2013. Nana Kofi Aseju Ofori is Obosumfo, keeper of the shrine for the Motia dwarf spirit Nana Kwekua Deku, which comes from the sacred grove in the mountains near Jamasi, Ashanti, Ghana. He completed his training as a priest in 1999 and was graduated by Nana Kwekua Ofori, Chief Motia Konfo in Ghana, as well as Ankobia Heni, Nana Ama Oparebea Bekwe in America. Nana Ofori holds a BA in political science from Tufts University and a JD from Boston University School of Law. He is a member of the Bar of the District of Columbia. Nana Kofi serves as the project manager for Nana commemoration. So with that being said, I welcome our speakers and I turn it over to your capable hands.
All right, thank you, Nana Kwesi. Just want to make sure that you can hear my voice as well as the voice of Nana Yarenchi. Nana Yarenchi, are you there?
I'm there, absolutely, I'm here.
Okay, very good. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, Nana Akuya Parabia sat on the Nana Panyan stool from 1957 to 1995. She, along with Nana Yao Aperi Denizulu, was instrumental in bringing Akom to America. Nana Parabia and Nana Denizulu shared the common vision of reuniting Africans separated geographically by the Atlantic Ocean and in consciousness by the passage of time. So from a political and cultural standpoint, I refer to both of them as Pan-Africanists. In this quote, Nana Parabia describes the need for African Americans to relearn the traditional ways of their ancestors. It's from a newspaper interview that she gave in 1973 while visiting Washington, D.C. at the home of Nana Kwabena Brown. Nana Parabia was a teacher. She initiated thousands of priests during the course of her life. As her trainee, you had to learn the ways of the shrine as well as become familiar with the Akan social customs and traditions. Most importantly, Nana Parabia instilled the importance of good moral character. She was a healer. She was a master of the use of traditional herbs in healing. As stated earlier, Nana Parabia was a Pan-Africanist. Her mission in coming to the States was to reclaim those spirits lost during the transatlantic slave trade. It is reported that Nana Panyan appeared to Nana Parabia in a dream saying some of her people were missing in America and that she wanted her missing people found. Nana Panyan consented to allow Nana Parabia to come to America because she wanted her people found. During her many visits to America, she established Akom houses in New York, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and those shrine houses in turn established branches in Canada, the Caribbean, and Florida. I just might want to also mention she was a confidant of Kwame Nkrumah. Both of them worked to advance the as well as other priests, to advance the vision of Pan-Africanism. As chief priestess, she was always in touch with the divine spirits that surrounded her. You could feel that she was a keeper of the ancient wisdom whenever you were in her presence. So this fall, we're going to do a commemoration for Nana Oparebea, both her and her 50-year legacy. And what I mean by that, we're going to talk about her personal history. And we're also going to talk about what has happened as a result of her efforts and those of Nana Denny Zulu, and bringing Akom to America. What has happened? How has Akom developed and evolved over the past 50 years and become a well-established African traditional religion in America? All the accomplishments of the shrine houses here in America. It will be from November 6th, and it'll be both November 6th and 7th, and it will stream live from Ghana, New York, and Washington, D.C. This is a website that you can go to register for the conference. The objectives are to preserve the history for present and future generations, explain how Akom has benefited our community in terms of healing, education, and so forth. We want to dispel some of the misunderstandings about Akom, and we want to talk about its relevance to contemporary life in America. We also want to raise money to repair the Iberi Road and establish a healing center at the Akanade Shrine. If there's money left over after that, we wanted to use it as seed money for a future Akom conference in the Asante region. And finally, the overarching intent here is to ensure that the priesthood are in fact custodians of their history and culture. So in preparing this, we're going to talk about to some extent about the succession of the Nana Penyon stool, and the references we use here is a dissertation written by Nana Ama Abochua, and her sources was Nana Kwesi Asari, the Akom Biahini of Kubiasi, as well as Nana Befo Jubi Labi, chief priest to, this is the past chief priest to Nana Surgery, as well as one of the Akom there and at Kubiasi named Nana Ama Amobia. Also, a lot of that was supplemented and augmented by information from an interview we got from Nana Yorenchi as well as Nana Afuabakai. We're also going to be talking about the significance of our traditional names. As everybody's aware, when during the course of initiation, we were given traditional names, and that was for a reason, to help connect us back to our ancestors, back to the meanings and significance and the qualities that were related to those names. And finally, we're going to talk about Nana Surgery. So at this point, I'm going to ask Nana Yorenchi to come in here. Do you want to talk about the meaning of the stool? And on the right is not the actual stool of Nana Penyon, but it's a stool that resembles the stool for Nana Penyon. Nana Yorenchi, do you want to speak to this?
Well, the stool which we, Latarians, Akonfo, sit on.
Right. Do you want to explain to them the meanings?
The name of the stool is called Sikim. These are 4 legs, and the middle is another with holes penetrated into the stool. That you should be truthful to everything that you open your mouth to say. Don't let anything penetrate through you if you are confident. Don't let holes penetrate you through you. Yes is yes and no is no. That's why we have the house, the truth house. So this is a symbol for us to preach latte Akunodi shrine we sit on. To divine, to do everything. This is the stool called Sipim. And it's a long time generation stool for the house. So that is what it is, okay?
Okay, thank you. I just want to mention also, Not Opinion is a state shrine. It's not limited to any one particular clan. Okay, so the first Akomfo to sit on the stool was Nana Ama Ajo. And we believe that was estimated to be around 1850. She was from the Guan Esetra clan. She in turn gave birth to Nana Akomba Atiapa. And she trained Nana Atiapa, trained to Nana Opinion, but there's nothing to indicate that she actually sat on the stool. Now, the next people we're going to speak about, I want to be clear, we're not representing that they were the only people to sit on the stool. We are simply saying that they are one of a number of people who sat on the stool, either in the capacity as chief priests or regents, taking care of the stool for another person while they were training somebody else. So, and before we get to them, I want to mention that this daughter of Nana Ajo is known to possess, even during these days. She gave birth to Nana Ama Ansa, who gave birth to Latebia, who gave birth to Nana Ama Amobia, who at one point claimed the stool based upon her ancestral lineage. Nana Oparebea was said to be her regent. This Nana Ankomba trained someone named Koko of Aheniase, whose son married Nana Abochua, who established the Aheniase Ekanadi Shrine. So therein is the information that you might need when you, of course, go into Latte and you're traveling up the hill to Kubiase, you first pass the Aheniase Ekanadi Shrine. You might wonder, well, how did that come into being? Well, this explains how that came into being. Included in the line of succession was Nana Anima, who was Nana Oparebea's grandmother. Now, I might also mention that Nana Ajo was Guan. Nana Anima was Akan, I believe, Fanti Akan of the Amansori family. And I need to clarify about what I mean by Amansori. Amansori is not necessarily a family name, but a brong or neighborhood or a collection of houses in Kubiase. Anyway, Nana Anima was Nana Oparebea's grandmother. Also in line of succession was Nana Ama Ansa I, who was Guan in terms of her ethnic group. She brought Nana Kwesi Karma and Nana Asi Ketua to the shrine. And then from 1957 to 1995, Nana Oparebea took the stool. She is Akan Fantian lineage on her mother's side. Her father was Akan. She was trained by Nana Akomba Atiapa as well as Nana Ama Ahenawa. She's first stationed in Nkukrum, where she was a Densu Yao priest, said to have been a regent over Nana Amobia at one point. Now, this paragraph, I want Nana Yorenshi to come in to explain what was explained to you in terms of when Nana Oparebea came to Akom, and was handed the implements of Nana Peña.
Okay, according to history, when we were there, I was there in 1983, and we were told that during Nana Amansa being the Okomfohene of the shrine, Nana Kunudi shrine, they were having a festival of Nana Kunudi, and during the festival, Nana Oparebea went to the festival at Latte. Nana Oparebea was stationed at Nkukrum, his father's area. So Nana Oparebea came to the festival, and when the spirit was going to sleep, Nana Penny was going to sleep, instead of giving the military and the akofra to the Ochiame, he did not. Nana Konfuamansa was possessed by Nana Kunudi and give the military and the akofra to Nana Oparebea. He handed it to Nana Oparebea. And then he fell back and died. So the elders said that, oh, because of this which have happened, Nana Oparebea should come and take the stool of Nana Konfuamansa. So they quickly went to Nkukrum and got Nana Oparebea everything to come and sit on the stool of Nana Akunudi shrine in 57. So Nana Oparebea came from Nkukrum and sat on the stool of Nana Okonfuamansa. Because of what they saw, the elders saw that never will Nana Penny live and give his military and akofana to a comfort. He gave it to the secretary. And he did not do that time. So they made Nana Oparebea to come and stay in 57. And when Nana came in 57, he was having his father's spirit, which the father went from the northern part of Ghana, a place called Ipala, Tongos, of where the Tongo spirits, the Tigari spirits were. And this was, we were told that Nana Oparebea father's people were having a big problem in the family. So he went to Tongoso to take a SUDB to help his family. So Nana Oparebea's father brought a SUDB to a place called Pokrum. It's a Bri station near a Bri too. So he brought that spirit there, and he was working with the spirits, protecting the family, and he passed on. So he left the spirit to his son. And the son too was having it, and then he passed on. And then they left this shrine for Nana Oparebea. But Nana Oparebea's true shrine was Densuya. That was what he was trained in Latin as a Densuya priest. So coming to Latter back to stay on his Nana Akonfuaman's stool, he brought the spirit of a SUDP. And whatever the spirit life is what the shrine at the top to, we don't take it, like a cow and a goat. That was Kwajibi's favorite. And Nana Penny saw something about a SUDP when Nana Oparebea came to Latter. So he loved a SUDP, and Nana Penny appointed a SUDP as his obrafo. So he gave a place for Kwajibi to stay. And the place Nana Penny gave to Kwejibi to stay was called Asomilabi. So Kwejibi stayed at Asomilabi. The place was not named Esujibi because the name was there before Kwejibi moved to Latte. So the Asomilabi was where Kwejibi was given to stay. And Kwejibi have been there as at now. So after that, they gave a land for Nana Oparebea to build something for Kwejibi. Because whatever Kwejibi loves is what she have to take. And they too, they don't like the goat and the cow. So they gave a land for Nana Oparebea to build a house, which Nana Kwame Nkrumah, the first president, helped to do this building. So they named the place Ebri House from his father's lineage. The house is in Latter now, but the name is Ebri House, where Kwejibi is now. So during the festival of Nana Akonodi, they do whatever that Nana Akonodi wants to have, the sheep and the fowls. So they separate the festival to be two. When it's time for Kwejibi in January, they will do the cow and the black goat for Kwejibi. And they've been together till now. No one can separate the spirits. They are still together as spirits of Latin. So we all belongs to SUJB and Nana Penny. So I saw Nana Oparebea in 83, which was, he was at that time 84 years. I met Nana Oparebea. The spirit came for me. I went to Latte. Immediately he saw me. He shouted and said, "Hey, this is my brother's son," which my father did not care for this son. That's why the spirits have come on you. Everybody heard it, but nobody will say it. It's me, I have to let people know. So, Nana Oparebea took me as a nephew. I stayed with Nana Oparebea for 11 years. And he passed on. I was in the shrine helping, always helping the shrine to grow. So 2013, Nanejri told me they have been to places, and all he have to tell me is I have to sit on Nana Oparebea's stool. I said, really? Well, I saw this when I entered the shrine, and Nana Oparebea to open the mouth that my father was his lost brother, his father did not take care of. That's why this thing have happened to me. So there was nothing to say no. I was installed in 2013 as the Akom Kese for SUGB Shrine and working hand in hand with Akom Kese and Anamwa Botwe, helping to keep the shrine up and making it happen every year. So what I will advise all of you who are meeting with you today, that we are all family. The spirit moves with family. Everybody should make the shrine as a family and help the shrine to grow, because we are all together as a family. So that is what I know And my teacher was strict. Nana Oparebea was very strict, even on me. He will never let me be out. Every blessed day, he want to see me. And it was a pain that I don't go for cycle. So anytime, every blessed day, yeah, where are you? And at times I get mad. I was plucking chickens when I was a Okonfua, and it was so much for me. At times 30 bears will come and I'll pluck everything. And I was feeling something bad in my head, something very nasty. When I explain, people say they don't hear it from my mouth like that. Because it was so much for me. Then I said, Sujibi, you brought me here to learn, you are not teaching me nothing, and always plucking back there. Tomorrow, don't bring any fowl. Let me rest. The next day is 40. So I stopped bothering myself and doing whatever the Spirit will bring that day for me to do. But I was enjoying the feat very much. That was my bonus. So this is how he was, and he was strong, powerful woman. He will command you when you go to festival. He will ask you, did you bring a sheep for Kwejebi? If you say no, he will tell you, go back and work well with Kwejebi, because Kwejebi have helped you and we are coming with a festival. No sheep, get back, go away. He will attack you right now. So that makes everybody strong and having faith to have a sheep before he enters the house. So festival time, Nana will pick about 200, 300 sheep. And every time of Ekwesidai is a big festival in the house. When I went, because he will collect all these sheep, and every Ekwesidai give about 2 or 3 to Kwejibi. So the house was strong. People were coming. But now people go, they won't bring nothing. They will say, oh, African Americans are bringing things, so we need not to bring nothing. And they will go and even worry Nana Afua or Nana Ansa to feed them, which was not done in our time when Nana Oparebea was there. If you go to festival, you don't hold yam, palm oil, onion, pepper, sheep, and fowl, he will let you get back. And you will never like it, so you have to prepare before you go for festival. So this is something it should come back again, so that things work well for us, both Ghana and America. And I'm thankful and I'm very happy people here love the Spirit too much.
Very much.
They love it very much. And without them, like the Shan have, there's nowhere. So I'm thanking people here to continue helping and know that we are all family. Because spirits move family, and they will help us all our life. So thank you, and that's what I have for my teacher, Nana Oparebea.
Thank you, Nana Renshi. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, so thank you for that additional information. I think I want to bring in a picture here. Let's see. This is just a picture of the signs indicating this is the Amansori Brong. And there's a picture here of Nana Oparebea receiving her papers, installing her as the first chair of the Ghana Psychic Healers Association. As I mentioned, well, I might have mentioned earlier, she was a confident advisor to Kwame Nkrumah. This is part of his work and the work of his conventional People's Party to help to make Ghanaians independent of Western medicine. He very much supported traditional healers.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 1971, she made her first trip to America 50 years ago at the invitation of Nana Yaw Apere Dinizulu I. The present chief priest of the shrine is Nana Ama Ansa Aperi II, originally from, I'm going to pronounce this, I think I'm going to pronounce this, Aparede, is that correct, Nana Renchi?
Aparede.
Aparede, in the Aquapim, installed to the Nana Peña shrine in 2003. This is her picture. So now we're going to turn to names and their meanings. Now the meanings that we're going to discuss are not definitive or exclusive. You hear different meanings and appellations depending upon where you might travel. And even the Guans and Akan people have different meanings assigned to these names. But all the names that we're talking about, most of them are Guan. But the main thing is that it's important to understand this was part of Nana Oparebea's way of connecting those in the diaspora to Ghanaian families, traditions, and the qualities of these names. So we can start with Aperi. Nana Yorenchi, do you want to discuss this one, please?
Yes. There is something coming to me for us all to learn and know about the Akans and the Guans.
Mm-hmm.
The Akans and the Guans are together as one now because of Okomfo Anoche, who was a one person. But this Okomfo Anoche didn't help the Guan people. He befriended Nana Osei-Tutu and went with him to stay in Kumasi. And he helped Nana Osei-Tutu to conquer the big empire, which was bordering the Ashanti people. And after they conquered the big empire of the Ashantis became strong, the Ashanti king Nana Osei-Tutu told his queens and kings that we always know God, we pray to God, but God have never done anything for us to know that he is still with us. So Nana Okomfo Anoche said, today I'm going to make God show you a sign. So he sat all the queens and kings and started Akom. And he told Nana Osei-Tutu that God is going to descend a golden stone for them to know God loved them and he's with them. So they did the Akom and they saw the stool coming from heaven. And then it landed on the ground. That makes the Ashantis very proud of Okomfo Anoche. But Okomfo Anoche said to the Ashanti king Osei-Tutu that, do you know I didn't do this for my people, the Guam people, and I've done it for you. Never fight with them. Be friends with them. They need help, help them. So he brought unity, which was lost between the Akans and the Guans, back. So Nana Penintu did well by taking from any part of Ghana, all his Akomfo, some are from the north, Ashanti, Bron Ahafo, every part of Ghana, Nana Penin have a wife there. So the religion was not only one religion of the Latarian people. It was Guans and the Akans. When Nana Penin comes, he sings in Twi Akan. Adadu Kofi comes, he sings in Twi Akan. As Sujebi comes, he sings in Twi Akan. Nanesi comes, he sings in Twi Akan. The only thing Nana Penin does is to speak the Guan language when he is telling of a business. and Nandari Kofi the same. Asujibi speak the tree, Matt. Asujibi tree speaking is like those from the northern part of Ghana, how they speak their tree. And Nanesi speaks the Fanti of the accounts. So I'm sharing that this accounts and the Guans are united together because of Okwanochi did great for helping the Ashantis to conquer the big empire that was bordering the Ashanti people and bringing the golden stool for the Ashantis. But he told the king to be fine. So now the king of Ashanti pay every year go to Okwanochi's town, Ukugwa, to celebrate, and they are building Ukugwa, I know, a university and a big market center, which the Ashanti king Osei now is doing for Ukugwa township.
Now move on to this.
Right.
Now talk about Oparebea.
Yes, and Nano Oparebea, the meaning of his name is Opim. Opim is to come to a conclusion of anything. Opim is the end of everything. So he was everything you are being worried about or bothered about. He was the right woman to stand and tell you the end of it, and you will be fine. So the name, we Ghanaians say the name goes with her very well. Opim, you meet her and he tells you anything. It becomes something big for you. The end of everything is her. So that is the meaning of Oparebea, Opim. I think that's all.
Thank you again, Nana Urenchi.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go to the next slide, okay? Karatin and Karantama. Do you want to speak to that one?
Well, Grantman, you say I have what? Helper in anything. He is there for you at any moment to help.
Okay.
Even if it's in the mouth, he will give it to you. He is very helpful in any situation. That's Ayaboa.
All right. Go to the next one. Urenchi. Urenchiwa.
Irenchi is Aquaforo. Kuncha wins in the pop. Mato Mato. That's my name. And they say you can't tie a blanket, a knot with a blanket. It's hard to tie a knot with a blanket. And Mato, we always think God is with us, so we don't mind spending. We spend, the next time we have it. At times I don't have it, but I'll spend all my money and then be thinking the next day, then another comes. So that is our style. Mato, we buy anytime, but we shop, but we get the money through the source of God.
Wow.
Okay, thank you very much again. I'm gonna go to the next one. Sachi or Sachabia.
Akomia, you can explain that.
Okay, all right. So this one means the person who gives a lot. Even though they will even give you the food out of their mouth. They're very understanding. They have a lot of imagination. They can be very cooperative. Appellations are Akomia, means strong like a warrior. Asamadu. If you send them somewhere, they will reach their destination, meaning a very reliable person. Wachi, Wachiwa, and I think Nana Kofi Bochi is on the line. He could probably confirm this. That's why we see Yadom associated with his name, one who frees those imprisoned or captured. Another appellation is Ajiaman, one who fights for the nation. I understand that Ajiaman was also an appellation given to Kwame Nkrumah. Anim and Anima. Do you want to explain this one, Nana Renchi?
Continue.
Hey, Anima.
Mm-hmm.
Please continue to explain.
Okay. She was, well, for one significance of this historically is that she was one of the priests. She was Nana Oparebea's grandmother and one of the chief priests to sit on the Nana Penyon stool. The meaning means soul or inner self of a person, a lucky person, a loyal person. Appellations are tutua, can solve a problem by disintegrating it. Asapene, if you tell her something, she will agree, a very cooperative person. And Trechuka and Akokore. Now, some of this information I got from the elders of the town of Apere. They had this information in a book. They gave me some appellations, but even they did not know the meaning of those appellations. So a lot of this interesting information is slowly being lost. All they could do is give me the appellations, but in some cases they didn't even know the meanings of these appellations. Then there's the name Otutu and Otutua. Otutu is an Abasun. The shrine is located in Adukum and belongs to the Guan Ibere royal family. All the chiefs in Adukum are named after this Abasun. The history here is that the mother of Asante Hene Otumfo Osetutu first came to this Abasun to help her and to give birth to a child. And when they were successful, she named the child after this particular Abasun. So the name of the Asante Hene is related and connected to this Abasun. The meaning of the name means that if there's a problem, they will solve it by disintegrating it. They can root something out from, if something's anchored, they can root it out. A mysterious person, very spiritual. Also, there's an Otutu shrine. It's one of the original shrines of Kubiasi Latte. The appellation is Adade Okokofo, warrior fighter. Asedu, symbol of power, luck, and destiny. One of the appellations is, I'm going to try and pronounce this, Obonseye. It means a person who found something, one of the founders of a village or a town. Person who began something. And you can see the other appellations, and the meanings of all of those appellations are not, they were not able to give you the meanings of all those appellations. Ofori, humble but very powerful, relates or connected to a very powerful Achim king, a notable but humble person. One of the appellations is the dove of Boronoma. Also, one of the appellations, Amampo, which means abandoned village. It's not a negative meaning. It means that when you want to go back and find the original stories, you have to go back to the original place to get those old stories. Guatemala, one of the appellations, Ajanim. Nana, Yorenchi, you want to talk about this one?
Ajenim Boatin. He have everything.
Okay, jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, but master of none. He help in everything. But it's a way he is. He will help you do everything, but he's master of none.
Okay. Mhm. All right. And Boatin, Ajinum, so bold that they take responsibility for the good and the bad. No matter what it is, they will stand. It means a very honorable person. They will take responsibilities, big responsibilities. Otre Cherewa was my wife's name. She called her grandmother and provided this information. It talks about the ahomachem tree that wraps itself around a palm tree so it cannot bear fruit. In other words, it's a very powerful name, just like in this powerful medicine tree. Grows everywhere, is very powerful. Appellation Sebo means boldness can smash stones. And then, as you probably all can recall, when you go to Latte, people often greet you in ways that you may not find in other parts of Ghana. So they say, "Ya Henewa," which is strictly speaking for those of royal lineage, but is commonly used anybody who wants to give a complimentary greeting. And there's another one called "Ya Abro," meaning for a brothel for the executioners, the warriors. Not Nado, did I pronounce that correctly?
Nyado.
Nyado, for a brave man. And can you pronounce the other one so I don't say what up?
Yakonto.
Okay. For a person who goes to war, does not die, and comes back, commonly used when a person comes back from a very difficult task. And then we want to talk about the name Jabi. Nana, you want to speak to this one?
JB.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, last spirit is JB. His name I know from Nana Oparebea was Akwa Ajibi. A servant of God have helped several people, plenty people. So Akwa Ajibi, when they say it, then they shorten it to be Kwejibi, Kwejibi, Kwejibi. And Kwejibi too means offer. Anyone called offer in Ghana, you shout Kwejibi, he is there with you. That's their second name. So offer is Kwejibi. So my teacher told me Akwa Ajibi was a Shijibi's name, that the servant of God have helped several plenty people. And they shorten it to be Akwa Ajibi. Kwajibi, Kwajibi. Akwa Ajibi, shortened to Kwajibi. But right now, people are saying Jibi, which is the second name of any Ghanaian call of faith. So you shout in Ghana, Jibi, Jibi, all of it people come to you. That's your second name.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I know about Jibi.
Okay.
As of faith.
All right.
Akwa Ajibi is for Kwajibi, or for Kwajibi, Kwa Ajibi, Akwa Ajibi.
Okay. I'm going to go back to talking about Nana Surgery, some of that you've already gone over. Originally from Impala, said to be the godfather of Tigray, and you basically covered everything that's on this page. People can read it again, but you earlier covered this history about how Nana Oparebea's father traveled to Impala seeking protection and acquired the shrine and brought it back to Aburi. And as you said, Nana Surgery was given a Sumilabe River to stay at, and land was given at the bottom of the hill to build a shrine house for Nana Surgery, and it's called Aburi, meaning the house of Nana Oparebea's father.
Yes, that is it.
Right. And then as you were explaining, Ajibi is the original name, meaning servant of God that helps plenty people.
Yes. Akwa Ajibi.
Right.
Akwa Ajibi.
So in my conversation, of course, the conversation had to steer to, well, what is the nature of a surgery? You know how we like to put things into classification. And I was relating to him, well, I'm not another surgery priest, but he's appeared to me in dreams in many different forms, taken on many forms. Like I've seen him as a python, I've seen him as a bird, I've seen him as a rock, or big stone. And you answered the question by saying, well, Nana surgery is everything and everywhere. I said, okay, I can deal with that. And then you said, it's like the Abubu Ma.
Yeah, he have a song, Abubu Maba.
Right. So we're gonna sing the song, but maybe people don't know what the Abubu Ma Ba is. And as Nana Yurechi was describing, said, oh yeah, I remember somebody explaining this to me. It's an insect that spins a cocoon, and the cocoon is made of sticks. And
I'm reminding you that this hat, the hat he wear, everyone have a bubumaba in the hat of a daddy. And
so is it inside the hat, or
yes, everyone have it hanging? That this hat.
Right.
Yes, it hangs in the encourages and all those.
Right.
But you don't know how he made this animal got into this text. So when you have a song that I will allow you to start and then we will sing together.
Oh, you want me to start? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Why Abubumaba string? Yeah, Kwesi. Why
Abugama shrimp.
Yo, Kwesi.
When they sing the praises for Kwejibi, then they add that song to describe how he is. You can understand his ways, but he is a true Egypt. So great and mighty. A king.
Right.
Oh, you know, one. You are going to see everywhere you. Oh, you know, one. So that is him. Our husband, Kwejibi. Very, very powerful. It's like a boomaba.
Okay. And so, having said that, as I said at the beginning, we're doing this virtual conference on November 6th and 7th. This is the flyer for the conference. Topics are going to be the history of the Guan and Akom people of Latte, the Canada Shrine, Nana Oparebea's family, and the Shrine of Nana Surgery. Here again is the website. How the family lineages within the Bronx influence the social and political structure of Latte. I thought this was important because when you go there, people are constantly referring to the Amansori family and to the other Bronx. And I wanted to try and explain how those Bronx tie into the post within the Akanade Shrine, the Asafo, the linguists. They all are linked to certain Bronx. And they're also linked to certain royal positions within the town of Latte, of Ahiniase and Kubiase. How the work of Nana Yaudini Zulu, along with Nana Oparebea, worked to establish a home in America. The achievements of the Akom Shrine houses in America over the past 50 years in terms of training priests, healing, education, rites of passage. how Akom has become integrated into contemporary professional life. And I've asked Nana Adwa Tano to speak on African spirituality and Africana studies. This is a list of presenters, and this is growing. For information, you can contact me. This is my contact information. Please register for this the conference at this website. And that concludes our presentation. Unless Nana Yorenchi, was there something else you wanted to mention?
No, not this time.
Okay, all right. So Nana Kwesi, turning it back over to you.
All right, thank you so much for doing the presentation. It was very, very informative. There was a lot of great information in it. I hope the priests or the shrine initiates really appreciate the treat that we received, especially with Nana Yaya Renchi, who worked so closely with Nana Oparebea, providing another piece of the puzzle in terms of understanding her and the work that she did. So I'm very, very thankful. And Akom Kese is
It's
happy
2 o'clock.
to point out to work with Brother Kofi Ofori, Nana Kofi Ofori, in reference to the commemoration. This is what we are about as an organization. We want to forge relationships and continue to build our community, build what we're doing here in America with the eye on understanding this is what was done traditionally. However, because we're in this country, we might need to modify it or change it, but understanding the historical context, like what our ancestors would have done, or in the spirit of our ancestors always being a place where we're coming from in terms of the things that we do and move. So I'm very thankful for the information that you presented here. It was wonderful. And we'll take a couple of questions because we need to move on to our next session. We have other people that are coming in, but please, if you have a question, raise your hand, use the emoji button so that I can recognize you, and we go from there.
I just want to also mention that Akom Kese is providing a lot of support for the conference, and I'm grateful for that.
Someone has put a message in the chat that we're hoping to have access to this information later, and we will see how we can work that out, because there was a lot. I took notes and I missed a couple of things, so I definitely wanted to get those names and meanings and appellations and stuff too. But we'll figure out how to make that information available to everyone.
Okay, one of the takeaways that I get from this as well is, like, although Nana Panyin and Nana Okurjbi had different taboos, they still work together. And I think that we should take that as a lesson for us as a people. You know, this is spirit. I think Nana Okurjbi takes cow, and what was the other thing?
Goat.
Goat.
Black goat.
And Nana Oparebea doesn't. However, they work together in the spirit. So I think if there's any, at least for me, a major takeaway is we can be different in terms of the things that we do and or say, but we can still work together in terms of building. So, you know, I don't have to specifically do it the way you have done it or the way you were taught to do it, but I can be respectful enough to understand this is how your way is, and I have to respect that. And the same on my end, this is how I do it on my way, and you have to respect that. So if anything that can come from this is understanding that you have two spirits that have different taboos, yet they're working together as one. And Nana Yaya Rinchi said it several times. We're family, we're one, we're working together. So if there's any takeaway from this, I think that's one major one that we should have. So having said that, I thank everyone for this session. I thank the presenters, Nana Yaya Rinchi and Nana Kofi Ofori, for sharing this information.
Just wanted to add something just to piggyback on what you're saying. If you even look at the history in Haiti and how the Vodun religion worked in Haiti, in the context of that, in terms of overthrowing their oppressors, they had many, many, many people from a lot of different traditions in Ghana, from West Africa, I meant to say. And of course, the issue of taboo came up, but they were able to nonetheless work in a cooperative fashion and unite all of those gods to overthrow their oppressor because they had one common enemy.
Yo.
Thank you.
There's a list to think about.
So, does anybody else have any comments?
There was a question, Kwesi, from Akomfo Amanyamache. She asked, how are the appellations used in other ways in addition to the songs? So like the appellations, so like, you know, how are appellations used? So we know that we might use appellations in songs. Sometimes when you're greeting a person, you might use that appellation, but are there other ways in which appellations are used?
My understanding, and Nana Yorenchi, I'm sure will come in here. My understanding is basically in the greetings, you know, like in other words, you say good morning to somebody and they use the appellation because they know your last name. You say, yeah, Hanwa, or they use the appellation Aburma. They know your last name is Ofori, to call upon that, to praise that quality about you. But Nana Yorenchi, you want to comment further?
Yes, this appellation is about our left foot. Everybody's left foot. There is a sign for your mother's side, and your right foot is for your father. So when you enter an elderly house, they want you to remove your shoe. The removing of the shoe is for the elders to get where you belong to. And then they respond to your greeting. So the moment they see that on your left foot, the longest one is after the toe, the big toe, the longest one, then they know you are Oyoko family. So they will respond to your greeting a different way. And when they see that all your left leg, the longest is the thumb, followed by the next to the last, they know you are Asuna. And Asuna people have their response. And when they see that your fourth and the third foot is the same length, they know you are Eduana. When they see that your tone is curved to the right, they know you are Asachira. So we Akans, we see this through your left foot and respond to your greeting. So we don't have the left foot, everyone the same. Everybody have different, but that is your mother's lineage. So whenever you go to the elder's house, they want your feet to be out so that they respond to your greeting.
Hello.
If you are Suna, they will say, yeah,
I'll call you back. He's on a Zoom.
If you are,
are you out front?
Are you okay? If you are,
okay, come on.
Adriana Abrao, you brew for the Ashantis or you brew. So there are so many, about 7 response, and they look through your left leg, your left foot, to determine where you belong. The right is for your father. They don't care about the right, but the left. So you look at your feet on the left, you see different, and I know how to let you know where you belong. It's something we study. So everybody is never lost.
Mhm.
Your feet determines where you are. Your left
Where you
feet
come from.
Okay.
Nana Madasi. You know everybody's looking at their feet right now, right?
Yes, I'm telling you, the left feet is wonderful when you observe. It tells you a lot about where you come from. You are never lost. We belongs to a group of family, and everybody belongs to that.
May Paucho, may I say something quickly? Nana has so much knowledge, and he would be very happy, and he welcomes all of you to come and learn. That's all I got to say.
Mhm.
He's not
Dasi, I
hard
not
to
know.
talk to. He'll charge you for an hour and give you two. So call him
Yes,
up,
sir.
talk
Yes,
to
sir.
him.
Yes, sir.
Mepacho, let me say in terms of Nana Yao has also been a very strong supporter of Akom Kese from the beginning. Whenever I've called him or asked him to do something, he has never said no.
Mhm.
He's never put us to the side. He's always been there to support anything that we've asked of. And I really appreciate your support and the support that comes from Nana Inyo as well. Thank you very much for all the support that you provided for us over the last 6 years with Akom Kese. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Ami
Thank you.
Pacho,
Nana
Nana,
no mi pacho.
Auntie Sarah has her hand raised to ask a question.
Mhm.
Yes, is there any way that you can write out about the foot? Because looking at my left foot and my big toe and the toe next to him about the same size. So I want to know, what does that mean again?
Yes, so unless I see your feet, I can know where you belongs.
All right, I'll send you a photograph.
Yes. So unless I see, if I don't see, I can't tell you. But everyone should know that as soon as your left foot, the first one is long, the thumb is long, then follows the next one, then follow the next one, follow the next one, then the last one. If your feet is like that, then you are Asuna group. You are in Asuna. But Oyoko group, they have the second one to be the longest.
So,
The second toe to be the longest. If yours is the second toe is the longest, then you are Oyoko clan.
Mhm.
If you are Adriana, the third and the fourth should be the same, equal.
The third and the fourth will be the same.
Then you are Adriana. If
Mm.
you are Asechira, then the last toe, the smallest one, is sleeping on the fourth one.
lays on it.
He lays on it. Then you are Asechira. So I can give that and then you'll be observing it.
I think I'm a Suno.
Yes, as soon as then you have the first one to belong, followed by the next to the last one. That's
Yes.
Asuna people.
Yes.
No, that's wonderful. That's
And
wonderful.
Oyoko, the second one is the longest. On your left, the second one being the longest, you are Oyoko group. You belong to a Oyoko family. You know it already, where you are.
Oh, Nana, yeah, you will be getting pictures of feet on your phone for the next 6 months.
Well,
Yeah.
like I said, he's here to teach.
So that's why what we learned when we were there. Mhm. So the elders taught us all about that, and I know all about it. So any person I see, I look at your feet. Oh, then I tell you where you belong,
Yo,
and you have your people.
yo, cool. So with that wonderful information, I'm going to turn this over to,
Hey, Paucho
yes.
had her hand raised. I just want to ask.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Mine is a quick question. I would everybody else. I'm trying not to stick my foot up in the screen there. But what happens when your second toe is the same length as your big toe, but your little toe is resting on the toe next to it? Where do I belong?
Her first two toes are the same, but her baby toe is resting on top of
On
this.
the-
So where does she belong?
Aquana. It's Aquana.
You're Aquana.
Yes, I will check
Aquana?
the book. Yes, Aquana. Akwana people have that.
But that's Nana.
Mhm.
Okay, so thank you again. I'm gonna turn this over to Akomfo Dr. Adjuatano, who is going to host our next session.
Okay, Kwesi, co-hosting.
Co-hosting, okay,
Yes.
co-hosting.
Okay, greetings everyone again. So this next session is about life as an Akom practitioner and what that has been like, what that is like. And we're seeking to hear stories about successes living this life, some struggles you may have had, as well as some solutions to those struggles. We know that there are people on this call that have been in this have been practicing Akom culture from the 1960s, and there are all the way up to people who are just now learning about it and just now getting into it. And so, as we stated earlier, Akom Kese is meant to be an educational experience as well. So we want to share our experiences, share our stories, and really learn from each other. It's meant to be a safe space, a space to ask questions, to share your own experiences and how you have learned and grew from those experiences to share with other people. So we have a list of questions that we're going to just pose and put out there. And again, it's meant to be a conversation amongst family. So feel free to come on camera. Don't be shy. Share the mic, share the stage. We're just here to talk, to have as I call, a cipher. So there should be a poll coming from Kwesi.
Okay, let me
And we're
start.
going to, as you begin to collect your thoughts about living and being an Akom practitioner, we're going to start off with this question.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Let's see here. All right. Are you co-host? Yeah, you're co-host now, right?
Okay.
All right, so let's go to polls.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go to life as an Akom. So let's go launch poll. All right, can you see it?
The poll is launched. Yes. How do you identify?
I don't see the poll.
You don't see the poll? It says it's launched. It's going. Just at the bottom of your screen, you will see, if you hover over it, you should see something that says polls. If you click on that, that might have the poll pop up for you.
I'm on my tablet, so it may be different on the tablet. I'm not sure.
On the tablet, okay.
I've never used this Zoom before.
It's only one question, right?
Only one question, yes.
Okay.
I don't see it.
If you click more, you might be able to see it.
Okay.
So so far we got 44% of the response. Akom African American is coming in number one.
And there's no, of course, it's how you identify. So there's no
right or wrong answer.
It's just to start off our discussion.
Oh, I see it now.
And there's supposed to be an other option.
That should have been the other, yeah.
For 7 healing waters. So
so we got one as other. Okay, I didn't put other in the poll question. I should have. I'm sorry. So far, we have a 68% response rate. See if we get it up to 80%.
Are hosts not able to vote? I can see the responses, but I can't vote.
We can vote, yes.
Where?
We be tainting the numbers, I guess. We have a 70% response rate so far, 72, 74. Okay, we get you. Let's give it about 30 more seconds. That'll be 3 minutes. We got a 73% response rate so far. And then we will kick it off. All right. No more responses. Let's wrap it up. All right. So I'm going to end the poll. Let's share the results. All right. So overwhelmingly, everybody identifies with as African American. It's 41% of the people on this call. We have 30% of the people on this call identify as African. And then we have 24% identifying as Akan, and then a 3% identifying as Akan American. So I think that's interesting. So what does that mean? I'm going to stop it. Go ahead, Ashley.
That has a particular towards a particular identity and why they chose the particular identity identified. Just sharing, just getting some thoughts around that. If there's anyone who want to share.
I can share something. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So in our family, we went back and forth between Akan and African. And so I would answer Akan when you're asking me what I identify with in terms of the spiritual system. I would say Akan. But as a person, I would say I'm African. So I wish there was a choice, Akan/African. But oh.
Yes, I think that distinction, Kung Fu Kwao, was a great distinction, right? And we didn't make that distinction in the question in terms of identifying spiritually versus how do you identify ethnically, or maybe even geographically. I myself, I am a practitioner of the Akan spiritual tradition. I identify as Black, as African American, as an African. So I'm like a mesh of all of it, really. Like, I don't really hold a particular identity, like as the only one, as some people may feel. Like, some people might have a strong feeling towards being identified as one thing or the other. I don't. I'm an African, I'm Black. After you call me an African American, I use that term as well. Yeah, so that's my take on it.
So for me, I don't call myself an Akan because Akan represents an ethnic group in Africa. So I would probably say Black American or African American in terms of response. If you ask me what my religion is, I say I'm a practitioner of ATR, African Traditional Religion. And, I practice the Akan tradition, because if we go to Africa right now, or if we go to Ghana and say, well, I'm an Akan, they're gonna be like, well, what tribe you all belong to? So if we look at it from a technical perspective, which I'm a technical person, so that's why I think this way, like in terms of, well, I'm not associated with any of those tribes, any of the ethnic groups that are associated with it. And for us that have been to Africa, they look at us as foreigners and they don't necessarily accept us as members of their tribes, but we do embrace the religious aspect of them. So I would consider myself, or I would identify with Black American, African American, more so than say Akan or even African.
We have Anana, Auntie Sarah had her hand up first.
Okay, I identify myself as an Akan because not only do I practice the religious aspect, I'm living Akan in terms of what I eat, how I raise my children, my child I got. Say children, please. Well, put it this way, I'm everybody's mom. Okay, so and how I live my life is as an Akan. So I identify myself as being an Akan. just living in America. That's all.
Midasi, Nana Kofi Boachi.
I chose African because that question first came to me from Malcolm X when he said he's not an American, he's one of the victims of America. So that to me sums up all of that. To be African, to be a Khan, includes to being a Khan, being an African anywhere in the diaspora. And I have done my DNA testing from African ancestry and from ancestry.com. And that came back all over the place. African ancestry, that they do you by country. And for me, Nigeria was first, then Ghana, Ivory Coast. Then when I did African ancestry, they traced me to the Fang and the Bimba on my father's side, that's in Gabon, and the Mende, who are in Sierra Leone. So I identify as African.
I have some Gabon too, Nana Kofi. What
Oh,
up, cousin? What up, cuz?
Hey, cuz, what's up? We gotta talk. We gotta
talk, yes.
Nana,
information about that.
Mi Pacho, Kwabena Frimpong, you have your hand raised up.
Yeah, I identify with African American. I also go with Black as well. I think from my perspective, we got to take a look at distinctions in the historical, political context of where we are throughout the diaspora. And our experience here in America is a little different, from some of the other places in the diaspora with, white supremacy and domination. And someone said earlier today, being in the belly of the beast. So when I identify with being African American, I'm just coming from that historical piece of this what took place here, under the Ma'afa, and the legacy of our ancestors surviving, the total chaos and confusion here, in America, especially being here in Richmond, where all of this stuff got started and being the former capital of the Confederacy. So saying that again is speaking this to where I am in the diaspora and the unique circumstances was placed upon our ancestors here, in Virginia and throughout the rest of North America.
Great. Akom Ama.
Okay. Yeah. Greetings. Yeah. I just to add to what a lot of what people were saying, I would identify myself as African. And one of my main reasons is because a part of what the discussion with people are saying, we have at least 5 or 6 different bloodlines from the continent running through our veins. So find one. And when I first started, in terms of the seat of identity, find a culture that you connect with and just embrace that. And everything else is that grounds you and everything else you build from. So I choose the Akan tradition and culture and people as my way of life. But if somebody asks me, I say I'm a priest, I'm an African priest. And I chose this tradition to express it because I see commonalities in Yoruba, in Sangoma, from East, North, South, West. So I look for the commonalities. And so that's what, it grounds, and it also becomes more expansive, and I feel more connected in that sense. So.
And I saw Nana Abana Nayo hand raised.
And Nana Kwabena has his hand raised. I don't think he
Nana
put
Kwabena. Okay.
Nana Kwabena Brown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so who's
Nana Kwabena? Me Pacho, you have to you're on mute. Sorry, let me myself down.
Here we go. How about now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. So okay for me to speak now?
Yes.
Hello. Okay. I identify as African American, and I do that because
730
African energy the African spirit, the African influence is so entwined and enmeshed in the Americas with an S on it. Our culture has strongly influenced what they call Southern culture. The Southern feast, the breakfast feast. Many people from down south, Alabama, Mississippi, you've never seen a breakfast or anything like that. You see one from the south. That is something we've given. We've given that, and not only that, but because of our influence upon the religion and spirituality within this country, we have brought the African perspective of the closeness and nearness of God. And we've injected that into that which is called Christianity. Very, very powerfully. And one of the things when I mentioned about Southern culture, white people in Savannah, Georgia, and Beaufort, South Carolina, pour libations and go to the graveyard and seek out spiritual help from the very spiritual workers. We're so firmly entrenched here and have influenced the culture and the movements and behavior of people so much. I'll be very short on this. If you go to Savannah, Georgia, go to the St. Bonaventure graveyard. There's no one buried there except old Confederates. That's only people that are there. And they have statues and all kinds of things within there. And if you go there the right time of day, you will see them pouring libation. And they explain it by saying, we realize y'all who ain't from down here don't know about this stuff. And we're Episcopalian, but we pour libation. And they pour libation, they bring food offerings to the graveyard, and they put various kinds of offerings there. And that's how powerful our culture has been here in influencing American culture. So I'll just leave it at that. So I'm very, very aware of that, very, very proud of that, and want us to realize that we have never stopped practicing our culture. It's just simply moved into the church. In many cases, it moved underground, but it's still very, very present in the behavior and the practices that you find within this country. Y'all are aware of Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana, and you go there. If you get a chance to say, go to South Carolina, Beaufort Island, South Carolina, St. Simon, South Carolina, go to Savannah, Georgia. African culture is alive and well, has never, ever not been here. And so I'm very, very proud of that, and I'm proud of our heroes that we've had here. We've had some unbelievably powerful women who have this African perspective, this closeness of God. Harriet Tubman, perfect example, so we've had our Gabriel Prousers, we've had it. And so we never should allow ourselves to think that we lost something. No, we didn't lose anything. It's always been here. And now it's buried within the church and buried in what they call Southern culture. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Nana.
Let's talk.
Nana,
I'm gonna answer you. Wants to talk. Okay, sorry.
Well, Nana Abena Nayo hand raised a while back. I'm not sure if she didn't. No.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
Nana, you talk.
Nana Insia.
Madasi, when I have to fill out a legal form and they ask me what I am, I will say African American. But in terms of my culture, I'm a Khan. And I firmly believe that because I'm first generation American. My family's from Jamaica. And everything that whenever I've been there, what I've gotten from Jamaican culture is the same culture in Ghana. I've gone there and found everything that I know called by a different name, but it was the same thing. And so I said, there wasn't much change here. And then my husband is from Montserrat. So when I did my research, I found that the ship stopped. I don't remember if they stopped in Jamaica first and then dropped everybody else off in Montserrat. And Simon and I were told that we have the same genes. They used to wonder, did you marry your cousin? So I know that my family is Akan. I know that the Akan culture is alive and well in Jamaica and in Montserrat. And so I identify as Akan.
So thank you, Nana. That's a great transition into our next.
You left me out. Me Paucho, you forgot Nana and you.
I'm sorry.
So how do you raise your hand?
At the bottom. If you
Okay,
click-
tell me later.
It's okay, Nana, I'll tell you
Okay,
later.
I'll just tell you so you can move on. I identify as African American because when I grew up, all we was colors and niggas. Okay. And when
Right. Keep it real, keep it real.
And when I realized that I was an African, I could shout. They always told us we didn't come from nowhere and we didn't have no culture. All those lies. And when I grew up, I found when my parents started talking finally, I found out my grandfather was a Garveyite. My mother and father never told me that till I was almost 30s, okay? And they kind of hid it because they were kind of ashamed that they had put so much money into going back to Africa and then it failed. And they were ashamed, they were hurt. And my grandfather became a drunk behind it. So I'm telling you, I'm older than a lot of you. It was painful growing up down here in Washington, D.C., and you were nothing. And when I found out that I was African, I was so happy. And then I realized you can't separate, for me, you cannot forget all those people who made it so we survived here. Because they didn't mean for us to survive except nothing to serve them. So out of respect for all those people who landed here and made it so that I'm still here, I have to acknowledge them by saying I'm African in America. And I have to join with Nana Kwabena. Yes, that is very true. You have to go and see all over this country, even starting with the monument where they got our symbols, thinking that they are theirs. From libations to the obelisk, I forget what they call it. And then we always say, don't be rubbing our hair, but they know something about us. Even the Masons, they know something about us that I went into I worked in the United States government for years. And one day on my lunch, I went into the Masonic Temple, the same one that George Washington went to. On our lunch, we were the lunch group. And we walked in and we walked into this room. We just walked in, nobody stopped us. And in this room, right there in Virginia, they have the maps of all the ancient temples with all the ancient information in. And each one of those temples are in Africa, going all the way down to South Africa, and then over to what they want to call now as Middle East. They marked about 12 different temples. Then when they also had a picture of whoever their major person is, it's a black man.
You are here?
It's a black man, okay? So when they go into there, they're worshiping us, but they got our stuff and they got it hidden. So I have to acknowledge both sides, but it's very, very, we got so much to learn about ourselves that has been hidden. But all those temples that they worship and they call on are black people. So the next time I showed it to all the people who were there on our lunch that day, and I brought another group back and said, we got to go back and see that. So we walked in there and the room was blocked off. So I asked the man, can't we go in this room today? He said, oh, no. Nobody goes into that room. I said, well, he said, yeah, nobody's allowed in that room. I said, God meant for us to see that day. But every temple, they had every holy place in Africa, in those so-called Middle East marked, and the heads of the person who led that thing, that they worship, that they honor, is a black man, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry I wasn't able to go back in there because it's a lot to learn. It's a lot to learn. And I believe to this day, That's the power that they're using to hold us, not only in America, but throughout the world, in this place of servitude and as the foundation of their richness. So that's why I call myself African American. Didn't mean to be so long. Didn't mean to be emotional.
Oh no, Nana, that's what we're here for. We're here to share our stories and our experiences. And I've actually been to the George Washington Masonic Temple, and there was also a room that I went into that had all these paintings of Kemetic symbolism, and there was a stained glass drawing, like a stained glass window painting, and everybody reaching up to the sky hand was white, but the hand reaching down from the sky as God was black.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, indeed. So with that, thinking about then the point about Akom and being Akom practitioners here in America, despite, you know, how you may call yourself, we know that we're here because we do spiritually practice the traditions of the Akom people. We wanted to talk about how you do it. How do you do that here in America? So first, thinking about lifestyle, we heard a lot of people, Serba Noche, Nana Ama Encia, talk about living an Akom life. What do we mean by that? What do we mean, or what do you mean, like you individually, what do you mean when you say, I live an Akom lifestyle, or when one speaks about that? So again, it's a discussion. And again, there's no right or wrong answers. We're just here to share our thoughts and gain some new understanding from your thoughts. So I see Nana Kofi Boache, hand raised. Road trips, Service said road trip, I agree.
Nana Kofi Boache, please.
Yes.
You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I did. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I heard a long time ago was when a chief is installed in Asante, they take an oath and the people take an oath to them. And one thing that they are told is we do not want things done as they are done in Kumasi. Kumasi is the capital of Asante. But if you instill somewhere else, this is what the people tell you. So what they do in Kumasi, that's what they do. But you are here, we have to do what we do it our way. So you have to adapt what you do to the environment that you are in. I saw some incense in the Tigray shrine that I can't get here. It doesn't grow here, and there's nobody bringing it except those who know about it. So when it was gone, it was gone. So you have to find what works here. The people who were here before our ancestors were stolen, they practice using the same principles to be in harmony with nature and with including the spiritual world, so as to make their lives better. So there are things here that we can use in lieu of what we would use if we were in Ghana or Nigeria or wherever. So that is one lesson that I learned. But when I first came into the culture, it was a very difficult time for anybody who was not trying to be a good Negro. If you weren't like Ralph Bunche with your tie and your suit and your as straight as possible hair, you could get in some real trouble. You might not be able to get a job or get served, even by Black people. I remember one evening when I was in training, that my hair was in Pessy. And when I got on the elevator to go up to my apartment, there were some young people in there, they started giggling. This was in 1972. So it has not necessarily been easy. We have not been respected or appreciated by our own people for a long time. For a long time. And in almost every major American city, you find a Chinatown. I don't know about Africa Town or Kumasi, New Kumasi, anywhere. Yeah. It can be quite a struggle. It can be quite a struggle, and people, even now today, there are people who resent being reminded of their Africanness. But on the other hand, I have found great joy and benefit from being in harmony with the Nsamanfo and the Abosun. And people often tell me I don't look my age. I say, well, Obokwesi take good care of me. And whatever challenges I have encountered, I may be down for a minute, but then on the other side, I come out better than before. And it all works toward helping us to be our best and highest self. Because, if you go to the gym, you don't lift the same weight every day or do the same exercise every day. You have to change up. You have to challenge yourself. You have to try something you haven't tried before. Do more weights, do more reps, try a different exercise, try some yoga, because all of that is beneficial, but you have to work. They can't say there is no abosun for a lazy person. Your best support is your own right arm. So Obokwesi said, prayer is a talisman. Say your prayers with faith, and then get up and work for what you want. So, and that's what I would say about what it means. Is not so much the trappings, but it's the principles and the practice, which are important, and the intent that you have behind it. If you have the intent to live a good life, to be a good person, to be of service to your family, your community, then you will be guided as to where you need to go and what you need to do. And what you need to help you will be there, including the people.
Thank you, Nana. I hear you raise a good point in terms of principles and values. Thank you so much. Nana Quia Doreen, I see your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. I moved to New York in about 1999, and one of the things that brought me up here was I was learning more about African spirituality when I was associated with the Yoruba in Philadelphia. But when that shrine house brought me up to New York for an Akom, I had never been to Akom before. So I come to the Akom and I felt at home after being, even though with the Yoruba, and I enjoy their process, but I was able to take a breath and say, I'm home. So then eventually I moved up here within a year, and I just, start connecting several times with Nana Bakan, with Nana Ansa Te, and with Nana Kojo to learn more about this process. Then while I was living up here, and I'm still here to this day, I started, learning, walking around in the area of New York, in Harlem, our Black area, I guess, community. And I went and saw this, a store where it had like a lot of the African statues in the window. And so I went in and I walked around, and there was also like a class being conducted in the back. So I stayed, I kept going by and walking and stayed and sat down and listened to them talk. And then one of the ladies said, one of the persons that was speaking, she said, well, you're really not American. So why are you wearing American clothes? So I went from wearing the Akan only on Sunday, would dress up in my African stuff. I started dressing then every day in African attire. So it was like each thing was new thing. Teach, okay, the food you're eating in the Akan was learning, well, you shouldn't do the pork, much as I was loving it all these years, but now I gotta put that aside. So there's a lot of different things to address, to change my mindset to pick up new things, coming into a room, greeting everyone with two hand holding and things going in, all those things were starting to just develop and learn these new ways to present who I am now. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm hearing food, I'm hearing clothing, so values, food, clothing. Kwao, I see your hand raised, and then Nana Ama and Sia. So we'll just go in that order.
Greetings. This is Baba Kwao's son, Akom Kese. I paid for the event. I'm just in the same room with my father, just to make sure that's clear. But I guess in terms of what it means to live a life, let's say as an Akan person, or really I would say any cultural group, one of the major things is, in addition to the clothing you wear, I guess the food you eat, is the way you think. So when it comes to literally any process that you're going through, how does an Akan person think? Like, absent any, I guess, foreign intervention, any foreign things being imposed, what are the ways that an Akan person or Yoruba person thinks about the world, sees the world? So when something happens, how does an Akan person interpret what is occurring here? Right? I think over here, based on our experiences, there's a certain way that we may see or engage or understand something. Like, even when we're incorporating our shrines, there's a way that we look at it. And so when it comes to, I guess, taking on an identity as an Akan person or Yoruba person or whatever person, what are the essential ways that we go about understanding something? How do we know something? How do we interpret? What is the foundation of our worldview? And that goes back to the values. And I think the clothing, the food helps to inform that. But I don't know the best word to explain it, but there's something a little bit deeper that undergirds it all. Like, literally the way we see and interpret everything around us. So basically making sure that we are very clear of that. I think part of it is the language as well. So if we're saying we're Akan people, okay, do we speak the language to the best of our ability, right? And as we speak that language, it'll change how we think, right? It'll change how we understand, how we engage, and so on. So that's the point I wanted to add.
Absolutely. Thank you for raising that point up about worldview and perspective. And I know later this week or later in this series, we have a presentation by Nana Kodia on clothing and the meaning behind the clothing. So even in terms of understanding the thought processes, even the thought process behind the print and the meaning of the symbols that are on the clothing that we wear, I think helps to inform our understanding of the Akan thought process, as well as, of course, the language, obviously, songs, proverbs, etc. Thank you so much for sharing that. I see Nana Ama, and then I see Nana Abananayo's hand, so we can go in that order.
Pacho, I'm going to try my best not to be all over the place. I have so many opinions about everything that I've heard. The question was, what do you mean by living in Akan life? And for me, it was relatively easy accepting the culture because I didn't know it at the time, but I was already living it. A lot of the taboos that were given to us, my father gave to me when we were little. So the food we ate, the things that we did and didn't do, they followed the customs of the Akan people. I think that when you embrace a tradition, you have to own it. And many of us, probably most of the people in the room right now, have probably gotten to the point where they actually own it. I'm more concerned about our children because they live in a culture where everything that they're being taught to do, it's in opposition of that. And so they often feel away when they're in school and everybody else is doing other things. They don't dress like a typical Akan person would dress. It's hard for them to practice the culture because they don't hear anybody else talking about it. It's not common. And so in many respects, without saying they feel ashamed of it, in a sense, they do feel a little ashamed of what they do. We have to own it though. We have to, the brother that spoke, Kwao's son, he mentioned the language. I think it's really important that we learn the language, but I also think it's important to embrace English and also say, We can sing some of our songs in English because that's what we can connect to. That's where the feeling is. That's where the emotion is. So I'm not opposed to doing both. I think we have to find a balance there because we do live here. I think that we have to be loud and proud about who we are and advertise. As an assistant principal, I never went to a meeting without my Akom business attire. They knew who I was and they respected that. You got so much more respect when people saw you practicing your culture without question, and nothing was going to push you in another direction. And we have to instill that in our children as well. So I think there's so much. I'm gonna stop talking now, but there's just so much. We have to take it, embrace it, and claim it as ours.
Nananayo, you're welcome.
Thank you for this opportunity. So when I think about an Akom lifestyle, I'm unable to separate that from being raised and continuing to choose to be a nationalist, right? So that's how I live my life. That's the lens in which I live my life. I'm fighting for my people. I'm fighting for my family. I'm fighting for the maintenance of this transition here in America and in Ghana, because we know what's going on with the spread of Christianity in Ghana, especially this evangelical movement that's going through. So for me, an Akom lifestyle is a spiritual lifestyle, right? I live very close to nature. I have an affinity towards herbs. I'm into herbalism, health and wellness and balance. And that is the foundation in which I do everything. So every day it means that I'm connecting with spirit. First, I'm connecting with myself. I want to know how I'm doing, how in tune I am. And then I'm checking in with my ancestors. I'm checking in with my shrines. I'm checking in with my family. I'm checking in with the community. I'm checking in with my environment, right? And so that's how I start my day every single day. Akom lifestyle also means that there are certain principles, morals, and laws that have been instilled in me since I was growing up, but then as I became an Akomfo, and as a woman, and as a wife, and as a mother. So those are the things and the principles that I use to keep myself in check as I am moving in the world. I'm always trying my best, and I'm working on me every day to represent my family and my name with pride, respect, and humility. So that is very important, so that when people hear my name, they will think good things. When they interact with me, they will have good energy. I'm always serving, actively serving as an Akomfo. I was raised and trained to believe that the purpose of being an Akomfo is to provide service and healing and balance to your community. So you are in a constant act of service to those people around you. No people, no work, no Akomfo, right? So that is my role and that's my responsibility. So I'm doing that whether people know it or not in my work as a nurse, and my work as a teacher, and my work in the community. Helping people to hear them, to listen, and to be able to support them wherever they are at. And then, of course, it's about, I'm young, continuing my growth and my learning with language, with the culture, with the tradition. There's always more to learn. So I part of my prayers that I say every day is that I pray for good teachers to come and to show me so I can be able to have a deeper understanding of what is. If that means relearning what I already know, then I welcome that opportunity. So that is something that I take on and I take very seriously, and I take initiative in maintaining that and understanding a little bit more so that I can teach my children. And then the last thing is just being able to support those who need assistance. Our culture is a communal culture. It's not for one person to try to do everything by themselves. And here in the diaspora, some of the biggest challenges that we have is that, you know, as an Akomfo, you're not just an Akomfo in America. You're the Akomfo, you're the Abrafo, you're the Asafo, you know, you're the density, you're everything, and a wife, and working, and. So, you know, a major task that I take on is that we have to be there to support one another. This is not something that's done by one person alone. So if someone asks for my support, I show up to the best of my ability to be able to support them, because I too know what it means to try to do this work alone, and it's not easy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nepalcho, thank you. So this is the second time that I've heard this, what Ananayo is saying in reference to the community thing. And this is also part of our work as Akom Kese Planning Committee, is to bring these pieces of our culture so that we're whole. So, you know, when Nana Yao and Nana Queer Oparebea got together and did their thing, they seeded the culture with priests. So priests have gone far and wide. So now we're interested in building those other parts of our culture that we need. So for example, you know, tomorrow we're going to have an outdooring for the Council of Elders. That's critical. You can go to any village in Africa, any village, and you're going to find a Council of Elders, period. You know, so in terms of putting all these pieces together that we need so that we're whole and we're functioning within our community, we're policing ourselves and we're doing the things that we need to be able to do in order to do that. So Nana Nayo and Nana Koshua and Nana Nyamache, they're master singers. They're teaching classes. They're teaching Akom classes, teaching the songs, teaching the meaning of the dances and things of that nature. We need that. I'm the worst person in the world. Don't come to me, ask me about no Akom songs at all. Now, if you want to do some shrine work, then I'm the person to come talk to you about. But if you want to do some songs, those are the people that you need to come to talk to about, because they are top notch in terms of that. That's their thing. They're excellent at it.
It's 3 o'clock.
So, you know, all these pieces, all these things that we need in order to be able to make ourselves whole. This is part of our mission as a Akom Kese Planning Committee, to bring these pieces together so that we can build a whole community, not just pieces of a community.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you everyone for sharing that. So continuing along with that idea about, okay, we know what we mean by Akan lifestyle and Akan life and Akan culture, Akan spiritual traditions. Can we now take a think about what was it like? Now, this is a kind of a two-part question, so it depends on which category you fall in. For some of us, such as myself, I'm a first generation spiritualist in the Akan tradition specifically. Others of you may have grown up in this, and you may be a second or even a third generation practitioner, meaning your parents or your grandparents were a part of this tradition, so you grew up in it. If you were a person, so that means first generation, no matter what the time period was, a first generation in the 60s, in the 80s, in the 2000s, what were some of the challenges that you faced in transitioning into this life, into this Akan, becoming an Akan practitioner and living this Akan lifestyle? What were some of the challenges that you faced and how did you overcome it? And we all face challenges. I would probably say, what was one of the greatest challenges that you faced and how did you overcome it? And also, what was one of the greatest successes or benefits or accomplishments that you have, or one of the things that you're most proud of in becoming a part of this specific tradition? So first generation, and then for those who grew up in it, what was it like for you growing up in this tradition? As Nana Ama kind of alluded to earlier, you know, being perhaps seen as an outsider when you were with your peers in the mainstream. How did you navigate that? How did you navigate that? How did you deal with that? And how were you able to still continue with this? Did everyone that you grew up with, did they all continue along this path? And everybody has their own journey. What kept you along this particular path? So that's a lot, but that's the context of the discussion. So again, we're going to look at hands that are raised and call on you to share. And there's also people sharing in the chat. So of course, if you don't want to share on the screen, feel free to share in the chat. and keep this discussion going, thinking about, again, what we can learn from each other. And someone mentioned, what about Christmas celebrations as an Akan practitioner, or Easter? That's a part of this discussion too, right? How did you deal? We talked earlier about family, and that was actually part of one of our questions for today. How did you navigate this with your family? How did you navigate this with your work life? How did you navigate this with your social life, your romantic life? So yeah, so there's a lot.
I'll chime in on the Christmas, Easter thing. My family, I grew up Christian. I went to church. I did all that type of stuff, Baptist church. So my family, as probably most of us, was steeped into, Christian belief system, stuff of that nature. However, with my kids, we never did Christmas celebrations or Easter celebration because I just flat out told them we're not Christians and we don't celebrate that. However, their grandmother would always send them Christmas gifts and they would always do Easter stuff. So for me, it wasn't a matter of trying to hide it. It was like, we're Akan, we practice traditional beliefs, but we did celebrate Kwanzaa as of being steeped into traditions or being steeped in a system in terms of being able to pass something on. But Kwanzaa is uniquely African American. You go to Ghana and say something about Kwanzaa, they're gonna be looking at you, or anywhere on the continent, what are you talking about? We don't do that here. So that's the uniqueness that comes in. But for my family, in terms of dealing with Christian holidays or stuff like that, like my children, they went to church with their grandmother to Catholic church. It's no problem, y'all can go see that, but that's not what we do, and that's not our tradition. This is that tradition, and explaining it to them and being very open with them about this is what it is. This isn't our ancestors' belief. This is where this comes from, and understand that. And then, they're free to experience it.
Thank you. Nana NCO Perry, I'm not sure if you were clapping your hands or raising your hand.
I'm raising it.
Okay. So Nana NCO Perry.
Yeah. Now I may have a little bit of background noise because I have a little help here with the little person. But I just want to speak a little bit on the, you were asking about first generation dress and hair. And first generation dress and hair. So we're talking about 1969, 1970, 1971. There was not, we were the beginnings of Mpesi. There were not people now wearing it as hairstyles. The only people you saw may have been somebody from Jamaica whose hair was looked different than ours. It was in the same line, but it was a little bit different. So you had that piece coming up. The dress at that time, we were wearing traditional dresses, as a trainee. Didn't have a whole lot of cloth at that time, hadn't really had a whole lot of things made. So some may have been plain clothes, but they still were in the traditional line of the African dress. I worked at Howard University Hospital, which is Freedman's at the time. And so coming in and, walking in and having my hair look like, the beginning hair, like, okay, what's going on here? And the dress after, coming there one day looking like they look and coming the next day looking like, I'm not sure, where are we here? What's going on? And so in explaining to everyone what it was I was doing, what was going on, the respect just came. I just said, when things fall in divine order, when it's time for something, people just respected it. They just responded. Everywhere I went, this is how I looked, until my hair got to be in its own organized fashion. It was kind of crazy, so that was just how it was. It was clean. I was neat, so that was it. And how I carried it, hey, it still looked like it looked. In fact, I even had somebody say to me one time, did anybody ever call you a bougie African? And I said, not until just now, but, so, still looking the best that you can. So early on, it wasn't easy because we were the only ones. You can go in a room, people looked at you, they looked up and down, however, the respect came because they knew you were doing something different. knew that you were doing something that meant something to you and also meant something to them. You know, so whether or not they wanted to associate with it or not, still the respect came. And before you know it, you know, our hair was starting off with Pessy and Pessy. Pretty soon people were copying it. Everybody wanted their hair to be that way. You know, as we started, you know, the African dress piece, depending on what part of the country you lived in, picked up, you know, big speed or did not. Washington, D.C. area picked up big speed, no problem. You go to Detroit, it was a little bit more like, not quite sure what we're doing here. You know, go out to California, the same way, but it caught on. You know, it's just the respect. And so it just became what it was. You did it, I did it, because in the morning, as the sister pointed out early on, I say my prayers, I ask for guidance, I ask for help, and I got it. And I just went out and did what I needed to do, you know, to be the best thing for me and my family at the time. And it caught on. You know, Madasi. My grandson's getting louder and louder. Madasi.
Thank you, Nana. Next, we have Nana Afua Ababio. I see your hand raised.
Yes, I'm sorry for not being on camera. I'm outside, but I want to say, Madasi, today has been a wonderful day of all the things that I've learned, and I'm learning constantly. There were a couple of parts to your question that you asked. And I think in terms of myself and the challenges that I've had, being a first generation is like Nana Auntie Encia said, that when we were growing up wearing traditional clothing, that was not a thing. It wasn't a fashionable thing. As some might know, I went into training when I was 13 years old. At that time, that wasn't a norm either. So my challenge was giving up, I guess, my childhood or my teenage years. And that was hard. I felt I missed out on a lot of things, which as I grew up, I didn't actually miss out on too much of anything. But, you know, that was a challenge in trying to keep with the teachings and the protocols that was placed upon me. Yes, I had to do things anyhow because I was young, but doing it with older people and not too many younger people. There were a couple of us, but not with the understanding that I'm still young. You know, I was faced with that challenge. But I never allowed myself to give up on Nana Nom or the Bosum or my elders in all that they were giving me and instilling in me, especially Nana Yao, Opare and Zulu. So for me, Akom just sat well. And I don't know if it had to do anything with me being raised in it or just me seeing the benefits and the beauty of it from a young age. Something that some people might not know. I've been married and with my husband since 17, 18 to date. And upon meeting him, I was very secure and sure of myself. And I was very detailed with him. This is who I am. This is what I do. These marks on my body are this. And I explained to him, and this is the person who knew nothing about African tradition, culture, about being African American, about being Black other than the color of his skin. But I was very clear and sure about me, the Akan woman that I was at that time, at that young age. So I don't know of many challenges that I've had other than just, you know, the training part at a young age, which I would not give up or do differently because I was able to absorb and retain a lot at that stage and point in my life. And raising children, like Kwesi Moore said, we didn't celebrate Christmas. It was just that simple. But yes, their fathers parents and family did, and they would get gifts and those things, but they knew that that's not what went on in our household. I didn't allow for myself to make excuses, especially when it came to raising my children. I didn't want them to think that, I wasn't sure. And so they too shouldn't be sure. And when you get older, you can make your own decisions. But right now, this is who we are and who you will continue to be, even if you add something more to it or take a little bit away. At the end of the day, your name is Afia, Aso, Kwabena Bwame, Ama, Yao. You have these names, and these names are given to you because of, and this is the purpose, and this is what your road and path is to be or should be, or we, pray for it to continue to be beyond your teenage life or years. So for me, I just think that as a whole, we have to be more solidified, and this is just my opinion, in what and who we are, and not make excuses and not try to become a part of what the masses are doing because of. And I don't think that it's about the clothing either, because I think we could wear pants, we women, and I think that you could put on a blouse and still have a lot of dignity and still have a lot of knowledge to give because of the way you carry yourself. I think that we can reach more people if we are sure about who we are without all of the compromising that we do. Going around my husband's family, it wasn't an easy thing. Here I am, this African girl, natural hair, cloth on, just no makeup or anything. And my mother-in-law is, she's very well put together, and his former girlfriends, are very fashionable people. And I was nothing like that, but I stood my ground at 17, 18 years old. And I, demanded respect from her because I knew what I had was precious. It was something that I had to honor. And even if they never, became a part of, which my husband to date still isn't a part of the Akom tradition, but he respects all of the rituals and ceremonies that I perform in and out of the home. That's because I think that I never doubted what was given to me. So with that being said, I just think that, once we just stop worrying about what others think, that we'll be okay. A quick story. One of my Akomfua, she's Ghanaian, of course, with Ghanaian parents, and she was very afraid of what they would say because they were Christians. And we all know that Christian people across the board, but especially, when you come from overseas somewhere, that you're very staunch in that belief system. It's here also, but it's a lot different for Ghana. She was very afraid throughout her training, and we would have these chats, and I would tell her all the time, just relax. They're going to be okay. I promise you, if you just are okay with it, they're going to be okay. So upon them traveling to Ghana one year, they came to her and they said, hey, can you please make a bath for me, for us, so we can travel safely? She calls me on the phone, bawling down the place. I didn't know what was wrong. I'm scared. I don't know what's happening. And she tells me that story. And I told her, once you're okay and you show them who you are and what you're doing, and have the Bosum and then Samafo and the Motia, you know, are working with you, they'll see the goodness in it, and that what has been taught to them is not correct. And from that day on, you know, going forward, she's been fine. And her family has asked for baths every single time that they travel. So once again, I just think that once we become very sure in ourselves, beyond just the cloth and which is a big part of who we are, but just in the way we carry ourselves and our thinking. Once we do that, I think that the challenges become very small. You know, I mean, yes, we might have some challenges at work because people don't know, but I think that that's a time and an opportunity to educate people. You know, so that's all.
Yes,
Thank you.
And so thank you for, you know, lifting those ideas of consistency, confidence, and living and being the good that Akom is and brings, and others will see it through our actions versus having to attempt to convince someone. So thank you for that. So in order,
Maybe Pacho, real quickly, I'm sorry. I just want to thank Nana for getting on the call. For those who don't know, she was one of the original people that helped organize with the Akom Kese planning committee. So it's a treat for us to have her on this call and for her to share some of her knowledge with us. Thank you for coming and attending.
yes, thank you for that. Thank you. So next, I'm going to call in this order. I see 3 hands: Serwa Anoche, then Akomfo Okuya from Alabama, and then Ifua
Riley Ajapoma.
Okay, so Serwa.
Mipacho, I just wanted just to say that what I too had a similar concern regarding you coming in one day with Western clothes and the next day you come in with traditional attire, and how will people react to you? What would you say? You know, all those things, you know, go through your mind. But if you have the confidence and the support, I think what helped me was the fact of my relationship with Nana and the family, who were like forefronts in terms of wearing traditional clothes and living the Akan life 24/7, gave me the strength to go into work the next day wearing traditional attire. And when people ask me, you know, what happened, I just explained to them that, you know, I'm an Akan now, and I'm following the traditions of my ancestors. So again, it's with that confidence, being grounded, having the support from other people that have done it. That's why it's so important to be in a community of like-minded people where you can also draw on that strength when you feel at times nobody else is there to support you. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. And just on that consistency part, it reminded me of what Nana Nsia Perry was saying earlier about the workplace and how we carry ourselves. Nana Nsia shared that she maintained her professionalism, right? So they might have saw an outward appearance change in terms of the clothing, but the character remained the same. And some might even say in terms of life in general, probably saw our characters grow and evolve, and saw the God within being shown. So I think that that's really important to highlight. So Akomfo Okuya.
Madasi for permission to speak. I am first generation. However, my parents raised me with the idea or the thoughts that I am from Africa. That's how they raised me. But to embrace it the way that I have in terms of Akom is too much for them sometimes. But just echoing what everyone else has to say, I think they saw my growth in terms of my spiritual development, my growth as a mother, my growth as a wife, they saw all of those things fall into place. And they looked and they said, okay, well then it's all right then what you're doing. And so for me, raising my children, a lot of explanation, a lot of talking takes place because, you know, they go outside to school. Now they don't, but before they were going outside to school, and it was just a lot of explanation. My son went through it. He would come home, Mommy, I don't understand, you know, why are they saying this to me? And he would say, but my ancestors, and people would be like, Jesus. And it's just a lot of conversation, a lot of talking. And as he grows and sees what we do at home, he is becoming more firm in who he is, you know, and I honor that. And so I echo what everyone else has said. When you walk with pride and who you are and what you do, people really have no choice but to respect it, you know, and see it as the beauty that it is.
Thank you, absolutely. Nana Fua.
Just two quick things and just piggybacking what people have already said. One of the stories I remember is where Ohima Alice, Nana's first wife, and they studied the culture, of course, back when it was Dambalaweo and all of that war. Auntie Alice always wore her hair natural. And the stories that was when I talk, I think this was like in the 40s or early 50s. And the negative things that she would hear, you know, people, you know, you need to go, you know, calling her nappy head, or you need to go press your hair, stuff like that. But she still stood for what she believed in alongside her husband, which was Nana Yao Denizulu. And up until I know when I met her and whatnot, she always wore her natural. She never strayed from that. So what Nana Insia Opari was saying, what Nana Afua was saying, is it is true, and what everyone else said, and just piggybacking, it is basically what you believe, what you stand for, and what people see. And if you don't let their energy or comments or whatnot cause you to waver for that, then all they can do is respect it. When my dad saw my first time I got marks,
And Mpacho, Nana, can you also talk about the time period? And this is for everyone as you're sharing, just so that we can kind of have an idea as to what was going on around that time socially and provide context. What time period are you talking about?
Okay, when Nana, Auntie Alice was like, I think in the 40s and 50s. For me, it was mid 60s, late 60s. And when my dad saw my marks, when I first got them first, I'm surprised he didn't have a stroke. But it was a big challenge then for them, because all he saw was like me being cut up. And again, you know, your hair is changing. And what do you mean you're not going to eat pork anymore? You know, you go through all of that. And I stood by, and even after I was no longer active in the culture, still stood by the no pork and things like that. Or someone had something negative to say about the culture or the religion, you know, I was always defending it. So one of the things I had said before was that even when you leave, the energy, the deities, the ancestors, the medicine that's put in you, it's still there. So even if someone does not fully practice it anymore, it is within you. It's ingrained in your spirit, and that doesn't change. So when I left and came back, it was just, for me, it was just like a continuation. You know, I just picked up where I left off, you know, in a sense. But you just find that once you embrace it, it's always a part of who you are. My son no longer practices, even though he was a practicing Akom Kese, but he still respects it. He still respects when I come to see him, you know, or if he comes to see me. So it's there. And I think it's how much we love the culture, how much we love the religion, and how much we respect it. Because when people see that we respect it, then they have no choice but to respect it with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Nana Kofi Boache. Oh, you're on mute, Nana. There we go. Yes.
All right. I want to emphasize what has been said about the importance of teaching the children and of being grounded and confident in what we are doing. You know, everybody has a different road. So everybody won't be in a comfort, everybody won't be in a bravo. But the principles behind all of that, everyone can practice and stand for. And if for your taboos, your way of dress, you know, to be confident in that and be proud of that, to be grounded in that, and to know where it's come from and what it means, and be able to communicate that, especially to our children, is extremely important. I was fortunate in the DC area in that there were independent African-centered schools that I could send my children to, at least for their early education, so that when my children started when they were in preschool, as soon as they were toilet trained, they were going to school, and they were learning about Africa and about our heroes on this continent and there, and no matter what happened later on in their lives, they had that foundation so that they were able to move forward with pride and self-confidence in being Akan and in being who they needed to be to do what they needed to do to fulfill their destiny. They understood the concept of Shebir. You have a contract with God to do something. So that has to be fulfilled. So it's very important to educate the children. Nana Fua Ababio's mother, Nana Kodia Ababio, helped. I think she actually was the inspiration for setting up the Bosum Jemawoji Day School, so that children could be educated all the way through in an Akan institution. We need those kind of institutions now, you know, more than ever, to have a counterweight to all of the lies and myths and stories that our children are being fed through all of the media and all of the institutions. So, but that's
Nana Kofi, that's great. That takes us right into a next point that I think is important to discuss, and a few people have brought it up, and that is the children. And thinking about what would we like to see as a legacy, right? Moving Akan culture and moving this forward, where do we want to see this going, and what needs to be in place? And how do we ensure that there is continuity of Akan culture and Akan spirituality being practiced in America, yes, but not just for the sake of it being practiced, but for the growth and the help of people in our own families, for our own children, and our communities. What has been a lesson for those who have raised children that you can share with the group in terms of raising children in the tradition? And then also, what is a lesson that you can share in continuing the tradition as a whole? And if there are specific questions that people might have, like subset questions around that topic, feel free to drop it in the chat, and we could probably ask one or two of those questions as well if you have a more specific question. But that's the topic at hand. So
I didn't raise my virtual hand, but I would like to speak on this. I don't know if there were other hands up because I don't see everybody.
No, but you can go ahead, please.
I think it's important that we start educating our children before they're school age. I think it's important that families understand the importance of reproducing, and we should raise our children to know how to bring their children into the world. We're at war with so many different systems in this environment, and we don't even know it to a large extent. We're at war with the food industry. We're at war with the medical industrial complex. We're at war with the prison industrial complex. But many people who know me know that I work with birth. And I think it's important that people know what to do to empower their body before they get pregnant, and then what to do when they're pregnant, and where to bring their babies into the world. I'm sorry, but I see people sometimes going to the hospital and it's like lambs going to slaughter. I don't know if you're familiar with the statistics, but they're horrendous. Women are dying in general in this country around birth, but our people in particular. And then many of our women still don't want to nurse our babies. Our breasts are life-saving devices, and we need to educate our children from very young so that they know what to expect if and when they do decide to have children, and where they're going to have children and how they're going to nourish their children. So I don't want to go into it too much more than that, but I think we need a paradigm shift where birth is concerned and how we birth our babies. Back in the day, many of our babies were born at home. And I think, we need to seriously think about that. Faith over fear. People are afraid of something going wrong, but they don't realize things are going wrong big time in the hospitals, big time.
Abel, thank you. So one of the things in terms of raising and passing on to the children, and like Nana Ahmad said, in terms of raising them before they get school age, is really maintaining the customs and doing the things that you would do in your life as an Akom practitioner. So for example, my son, he doesn't even know he's in a brothel already. He knows how to do everything that needs to be done within the shrine house and within the shrine setting in reference to the work. His training was, that's what he knows. He's been doing it since he was 4 or 5 years old. We go to do shrines, we're doing cows now. And it's like no big deal. Like, oh yeah, I've been doing this since I was a kid, because he's been indoctrinated with it. He knows nothing different because of that early education. This is his life. This is what he understands. So when I was a kid, when I was over at Nana Yao Parry, Denny Zulu's house doing sheeps, it would take us an hour to do a sheep. These cats come along now and they do a sheep in like 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's no big deal. Like, yeah, okay.
You dating yourself.
Yeah, all right. Well, I mean, I ain't a young kid no more. I'm 53 for the record. So, I'm a little up there. But in terms of, that education, starting off young, and if you're living the culture and they're a part of the culture, they learn it. They learn the stuff. When you're not saying something, they're still learning. When you're doing something, they're learning. And I bet you anybody, you go out and see any of these nanas wearing regular clothes, you see it and you're going to ask them, what you doing in that? You're going to ask them. And they're going to be like, well, I can't wear pants. Because it's part of the culture. They learn about that. So, I think it really starts is not sheltering them, inviting them, and then having those conversations. So Nana Abinanayo, you're welcome. I'm sorry. Yeah, she has her hand up. So Nana.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Nana. It's okay. I'll go next. I'm still writing my list.
So I wanted to read something one of the sisters wrote in the chat. Let me see if I see her name real quick before I lose it. Akom Kese from Alabama, I think. She says, I got to get it back up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I lost it.
It says, I say involve the children, call them to do things in the shrine, teach them the protocols, call them to pour libation, ask them what they think about messages that come through the shrine, involve them 100%.
And I agreed with that statement to the end. I think that we have to involve the children in what we do. Nana Kwesi Amoa talked about his son. Well, his son was there with my trilogy, and all of them learned to work together.
And they nice.
They're nice. They're sweet. They just came back from Mexico about 10 minutes ago, and they walked through the door and they brought me a gift. And here's the gift they brought me from Mexico. Can you see this?
Hey,
they brought me a gourd, okay? Because they're always thinking shrine, because they were raised in it. And that's what we have to make sure that we do. As an educator in the public school system, I didn't mention necessarily Akan culture, but those kids got every little piece of Akan culture that they could possibly get in the history and everything else. And a lot of them came back to me when they were in high school and graduating from college to tell me thank you for the nuggets that you gave. So I know there are other people that are on this call who are in education and probably doing the same thing or in a different field and still doing the same thing. We have to make sure that we're constantly paying attention to them, helping them and guiding them into understanding the culture.
All right, Nana Abena and then Matthias.
Okay, so I started writing a list. As I give more thought, more things are coming to the list. So the first thing has been thinking about
That's messing with you.
The first thing, if we're thinking about the future, is that we have to give power to the elders in our families, right? The role of the Abusia Penin is very, very important. And so as we're moving, and now it's not the first generation, you're going to the second and the third, we need to give them that recognition and heed their wisdom and advice and make sure that family problems are brought to them. There needs to be a deeper understanding of African worldview, right? So we've already spoken about this, that we are in a Western paradigm. Everything that we learn here, everything that we experience here, until we can separate ourselves, is going to feed us information and ways of being that are anti-African, even in its subtleties. So until we are conscious of what those things are, and we begin to help our children so they can have a better understanding, and they can understand what is a coping mechanism and what is the way that it needs to be. Not get them so caught up in a utopia of a way that doesn't exist, but a way for them to filter and absorb the information that is being provided for them and to give it a context so they can move forward. Language is a big thing. We've been doing this for a long time to still have language be a major barrier. There are many things that do not translate well when you try to understand them in English. So when you have an opportunity to be with a teacher, it's important that you begin to understand the language, utilize the language, practice the language, incorporate the words, even in the small words that we have, into our way of being so that we can change the vibration of how we're interacting. Exploring the why as it relates to traditional customs. We need to understand why things are done the way that they are being done, right? In order to hold value to it, because without value, our children are not going to hold on to it and it becomes lost. We don't want a situation where we make all of these sacrifices and then our children walk away from it again and again and again and again. So helping them to understand the importance and the why of the traditional customs, so it's not just something that we do, and then really being able to differentiate what things need to be done here in America versus what things need to be done in Ghana, and helping them just to understand that slight context. We also need a global view of Ghana's spiritual systems. So many times people are training in one particular place, but they don't have a full understanding of all of the different type of shrines. They're more than just 5, more than just 10, more than just 100, right? And understanding who are we as a people? How do we connect spiritually with nature? And why do we respect all of these different categories of spirit? So that this way they can interact in any environment, so that even in our place, we can begin to understand the spiritual nature that exists in this place. Herbs, of course. I am an advocate that if you are not using fresh herbs in your spiritual practice, you are limiting yourself. And many times what ends up happening is there are herbs that we have access to in Ghana, and then when we are here, people are going without. There are many of those herbs that you can find here. It's time to expand our knowledge of the herbs, the spiritual essence of herbs, using fresh herbs in our practice, and understanding the healing essence of herbs and being more involved with that. And supplies, right? Right now, many people, Nana Kofi talked about it, you have something, and then as soon as that something is done, you don't have it, and you feel like you're going without. How do we allow the shrines that we have to adapt and change to what is available here and finding the tools necessary so we can be complete in doing our work all the time and not feel like, okay, if I don't have this, then I can't work, right? So we want to be able to do that. We need teamwork, right? We need, here in the diaspora, we need to share and teach each other so that we can continue to learn and grow beyond. Everybody is learning in the silo. The foundation is being created and recreated, and we have no springboard collectively in which we're bouncing off of this. So I'm excited about Akom Kese and what is being done, and hopefully that this will continue to be a safe place so that people can begin to learn and grow. Don't be afraid to learn something new, right? It's not about right and wrong, it's about different. So don't be afraid to learn something new, a new way of doing things, a new way of seeing things, because learning happens forever. Do not forget to venerate our ancestors. So a lot of what happens is that people begin to focus on the Abosom and all of, and the traditional Akan lineage, but then they forget to uplift their own bloodline and their own spirits. So you're not going to be able to be successful without that. You need to be able to also and establish that and figure out, how are we doing that? Do we need to do that the way that the clans have done it in Ghana? Or is there something else that we, coming from this place, being a mixture, need to do something? So getting in tune to that. And then I'm going to, this is the last one, expand the traditional roles beyond the priesthood. Akan tradition is not just about being in a Akomfo. There are so many other important roles that I don't see emphasized. I don't see people even taking that on. We cannot function as a community moving forward if everyone is in a Akomfo and possessed. We need to make sure, if this is going to be sustainable, that we take the wisdom of the elders and the communities that are in the Akan and the villages that we have gone to, and understand, why is it that they do it that way? Why? What is the importance of the Asafo? What is the importance of all of these different positions, and allowing people to really fulfill their destiny? It is challenging for me to believe that everybody here, their destiny is to be in a Akomfo. How can that be? So we need to expand beyond that and allow the people to participate fully in the culture and have a purpose and be able to fulfill that purpose. Thank you. I'm going to stop.
I'm glad I'm not the one that's saying that. Thank you so much.
Why are you glad you're not the one saying that?
Because I wholeheartedly believe. I mean, we need to stop making priests. We don't need no more.
That's what one
you know
of the missions of Akom Kese
more
is.
priests. That's one of our missions. Yes.
Yes. Exactly.
But
what
we
she
always
said.
Pacho, we always need Akomfos. But like Nana Nayo says, there are other titles and other people who help along with making Akom what it is. And so, I mean, and I know it's jokes, but I just want to make sure that, you know, everything, there's a balance. We need Abrafos, we need Emras, the singers, Ochadama, you know, Ochiame, you know, everything. We need all of the, even the people who just sew the clothes, you know, they are important. We need, you know, to dress and the bosum need to be fine. So, you know, yes, we do need Akofos, but like Nana Nayo said, I can't also believe that everyone is to be made Akomfo. And that's the only way you can connect to the Bosu or the Nsamafo or to the Amoti. I don't think that that's the only way. I think everyone has a position to play that will give them the opportunity to connect to spirit. So that's my little spiel.
Thank you. And Nana Yao, I see your hand, and then we'll come back to Amaziah. Thank you. Nana Yao.
Yeah, about Nana Nayo, what she said about the herbs. We can use any herbs here in America. As Nana Oparebea taught us, that when anybody comes to you, just pour libation to your spirit, go through a pathway that leads into the bush, pick 7 from your right, 1 from your left, 2 from your right, Well, I said 2 from your left, 7 from the right hand, and 7 from the left hand. Put it together, make a bath, cut the bed, and use it. And it works. So
So
just to share that you pray to your spirit about it, and then you go pluck 7 from your right, 7 from your left, add it together, make a bath, and it works.
it's called
So
Alhamdulillah.
that came to me to share.
Yes, Madasi Nana, Madasi. Yes, Matthias.
Hi, hello everybody. Nana Nom,
We're
good
waiting.
afternoon. Yes. So I have a couple things I wanted to just share. Auntie Alma Dama, when she was talking about birth, reproduction, and all of that. I just read a book. I'm reading a book called Medical Apartheid. I don't know.
Me Paucho, I'm sorry. For those who don't know, Ama is a MD. She's very modest, so she never uses the term doctor. So, but she's a medical doctor, so she's coming with a level of authority that, you know. So I'm just putting that out there so people can know where she's coming from.
Yes, and Auntie Alma Dama, what she said about reproductive rights, Black women having problems with birth, it's very serious. I think as a people that we really understand that there has been an agenda to decrease our numbers as a people, and it's not just a small agenda. A lot of it, when I was growing up, dealt with teenage pregnancy and really people having a whole thing about, you know, young women not having children, young women who 18, you know, of course, younger. And I think that we have to have a conversation because marriage, unfortunately, is not something that's very strong in our communities in terms that you see a lot of people married, but ancestors still have to come through. When I think of my generation, I know that teenage pregnancy was something really big, but that was an agenda that was pushed forth. I think that we need to speak to each other as well as our children about pregnancy, when it happens, if you're 18, 19, 20, that it's just not an individual issue, it's a family issue. It's something that should be discussed among family members. I know a lot of my friends growing up got a lot of challenges and 20, but physically those 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, those are prime ages oftentimes to give birth. And even though you may not be mentally always prepared, if you have a strong family to help bring those ancestors through, then that is an ancestor that has made it. And you never know what they are here to contribute. Many of my friends who had children around that age group, their children are doing wonderfully, but there was this whole stigma about teenage pregnancy at that time. And it's a whole agenda, once again, in terms of birth control, which once again is an option. I'm not saying not to do it, but I think we need to understand that it's an agenda to decrease our numbers and that everything doesn't have to be perfect to bring a child through. And I think that that's something that needs to be discussed as long as there's a strong family to catch that baby, to make sure that they're supported, to make sure that they're loved. And I think we also need to continue having conversations about independent African schools and the importance of them to be able to continue the traditions, continue that education of our children. So I know that birth control, I know that family planning, I know that ancestors coming back through is not something that we generally talk about. I know having a healthy environment for babies to be born, like Auntie Amadama talked about, you know, making sure that our daughters are eating healthy, not eating hamburgers, not eating hot dogs, not eating things that can cause heart disease. There have been autopsies of children showing heart disease at 7 years of age based on what they eat. Like we have to, and that's just not the heart, that's the uterus. You know what I mean? You want to make sure that our children, our girls are able to have children as they get older. So I think the whole conversation about reproduction, families, ancestors coming through are really, I would love to make sure that maybe we have some conversations on that maybe next year, if you all are open to that.
Maybe Friday.
Friday? I was about to say that Matthias, the women's meeting is Friday, so definitely get in contact with me. We can talk about that for the agenda for the women's meeting.
No, because so many of my friends, including myself, don't have children. We were definitely afraid of teenage pregnancy, you know? But if you think about it medically, there was a whole agenda that was put on Black people. There was actually in the Baltimore City school system, there were schools that girls were given Norplant without their parents' consent to prevent pregnancy at that age group. You know, I mean, there's things that we really need to talk about, and I think families should, you know, to talk about. So anyway, yes.
So I just want to lift up Dr. Amatayas. Thank you so much. That was such a great point that you raised, and that is that of health, right? The importance of health for everybody, but definitely for us as practitioners. And we talk about, you know, ancestors and keeping, you know, our bloodline going, you know, yet we're not looking at the role that health or lack of health plays in that. And I'm certain that the Abosun, of course, an enormous amount, want us to continue. And I just thank you for raising that point about health. I know Abanayo mentioned herbs, and you know, herbs and healing and health. So I think that's so important. I know Yamache is really big on health as well. So there's a lot of us on this call that have a passion towards that and knowledge towards that we can all use. So we're going to begin closing out. I see Nana Kofi Boachi has his hand raised. So Nana Kofi, I'm going to ask if you can be the last comment before I turn it over to Kwesi. And as we're closing out, if people can share in the chat a very key takeaway that you got from today's session. It can be a lesson. It can be something that you want to leave with the people, leave with us in terms of a message, or something that you want to share about today's discussion. What really resonated with you? What will you take and apply to your own life and share with others? So while those are coming in the chat, I'm going to ask Nana Kofi Boache to make his point and then turn it over to Kwesi to close us out.
Thank you, Kompo Adjua. I am so proud of Ama Afantua Ajumantias, having been at her naming ceremony and seen her grow up. She is a shining example. My daughters and grandchildren all think very highly of you, Ama, and you are an inspiration to them. She put herself through school, y'all. She found all the money and everything to get it by herself as a very young lady. So she lives up to being an Asantewa.
My parents helped. They helped, so they did help. But thank you, not a Kofi. Thank you.
Thank you. And so again, as a chat, let's light up the chat, y'all. We hope that you gained something from the session. Please let us know what you did gain. Again, a lesson, a takeaway, a message that you would like to share. And Kwesi Amua.
I'm here. Thank you. So
I'll say one quick thing.
Sure.
There was a lot put out here today. I put some things in the chat that occurred to me as I was listening to the discussion. I'm a grandfather. My family has had 3 generations of priests, but I have 3 grandsons who may or may not be priests, but they are doing other things to perpetuate the culture because they have seen the way their mother has walked with it. The women are the first teachers. You start teaching our children in the womb. Everything you feel and think and do, they feel and is transmitted to them. The tie between mother and child is unfathomable. Your role is very important, and it is essential for all of us men to support them and to care for them and to love them and to help them to do that. That family is the foundation of African culture, whether you're talking about the Akan or you're talking about the Zulu. And family is only perpetuated when a man and a woman come together and not only bring a child into the world, but raise that child. Teach that child what they need, all that they can teach them to be successful in the world, but more than be successful, however you measure that, is to be a good person, to be someone who is worthy of respect, who is of service to their community and to the world. We have all these institutions that we need to fill: schools, the chieftaincy, the Asafo, and those are roles that everybody can play, but the children have to be taught and be ready to step in when they are called.
Madasi.
Thank you. All right, well, we would like to thank everybody for coming to participate in our first day of Akom Kese 2021. Feel that it was a very powerful day. A lot of good information was put forth, and this is the whole vision. This is what it's about, allowing people to share their information and their thoughts. I've learned things. I'm sure others have learned things that I didn't know. The tribute to Nana Yao, to Nana Kuya Oparebea, they both were powerful. The pre-session with the lineage, with the Akonade Shrine, with the appellations, all that information is so useful. And then for you to, for us to close it out with this session about our life and integrating the Akan culture into it and how it's gone, it's just a wonderful, wonderful start. We are appreciative to everyone who's come to contribute. Please, if you know someone that can learn from this, please tell them, invite them. This is a free session this year. Also, please consider making a donation to help support the work that we're doing. Tomorrow, we're going to have another powerful day. We have the outdooring for the Council of Elders, which is going to be phenomenal. And then we're having a session on what is a comb. So we're going to have a presentation by Nafo Bensoufier for the Akom, and then we're going to talk about the mechanics of an Akom, the songs, what things are done first, the order. We're going to talk about those type of things. So we want to educate. We want to provide information that you are empowered to do it. So again, thank you. And we welcome you. It's 4 o'clock. For daggone phone. We welcome you to come and enjoy the rest of what we have planned for the week. Thank you very much.
Also, please continue to share your thoughts. Kwesi, don't close out yet because people are still putting stuff in the chat. If you can't get your thoughts here, put it on the Facebook page, answer the questions that we put on the Facebook group. Continue to share, continue to share, continue to share. And again, you can share the link. The Zoom link is going to be the same for the entire week. Share with everyone, even if they have not registered, it's perfectly fine. Just want everyone to have access, okay? So please feel free to share.
And also, if there were any topics that were brought up today that you think we should expand on and look more in depth into, please type those in, because that can possibly be sessions for future conferences.
Let us know what you want. Let us know. Okay, good night.
And Kwesi, stay on just because it's just so typing and we want to say.
Yeah, I'll stay on. I'll stay on until everybody decides to get off, and then I'll close it down. How about that?
Okay.
You want to stay forever?
It's okay, ain't no problem. I'm here to serve.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Nice.
Thank you.
Wonderful. This is wonderful. Take care.
Yes, this was fabulous. Thank you so much.
Kwesi, someone asked, what's the start time for tomorrow, please?
Our first session is at 10 o'clock. Make sure. Let me check it to make sure. Yeah, 10 to 12 is our first session. So day 2, yep, 10 o'clock. And you can go to aconcenter.org, or you can go to the Eventbrite page, which also has a listing of the program and the time everything is starting. And then the second session will be starting at 2 o'clock for the Akom presentation.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a lot. So I think, like I said, I think we're off to a really good start, and we definitely want to be able to keep this energy up, keep the vibes up, and then, like I said, just share it with everybody. You know, this is what we want to do. We want to bring our community together to build and to build it stronger. And this is not to throw out anybody or anything. It's not about that. You know, we just want to help.
I'm looking at the notes. I see a coach will get me together. What am I going to do? What'll happen? What am I supposed to be doing?
You're gonna make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be tomorrow. Thank you.
Hey, is this my buddy, my roommate?
Yeah. Hey, roomie.
Absolutely. That's my Ghana trip roommate. All right, mama. I got you.
Love you. Thank you.
I'm like, what I do? Okay.
Someone asked if we could ask Nananayo Abena if she could type up or share her list.
Oh, for her thoughts about what we need to do and how to improve things. I'm sure she has it written down. Absolutely. But you know, she used to do her Mindful Monday, so maybe this will encourage her to get back on Mindful Mondays. Yay! We'll see.
Okay, and Kwesi, I was trying to save the chat, but I'm not able to. So just want to note for you to save it.
Yeah, it'll save when I close out everything. So the chat, the video, the audio, everything will be saved.
Okay.
It's going to be a rather large file since we've been recording since this morning.
And again, please do share the link. And it's an open link. There's no registration. So the link is open on Facebook. Share with your friends. Absolutely. Please do. Tomorrow, we're starting at the same time, 9 o'clock?
No, 10.
10 o'clock tomorrow. 10 o'clock.
So we have the outdooring for the Council of Elders tomorrow.
And the same link is going to be used, correct?
Same link, yeah.
Have a peaceful night, everybody.
All right, good night.
So I'm actually surprised people hanging around so long. That's kind
We
of
love
nice.
each other. This feels good.
That's kind of beautiful.
Yes, yes, it
I'm kind
does.
of surprised. You're like, oh, I'm getting out of here. I'm hanging up, but everybody's still hanging. So
You know how we linger at a phone.
that's kind of beautiful. I like that. That's all right.
Nobody want to go home. You're already home, so where you gonna go?
Yes, you're home now, so now you don't gotta travel.
Good afternoon, everyone. It was a great day. A good way to spend a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Company, good discussion. Have a great evening. Looking forward to tomorrow. Blessings to you all.
Yes.
Thank you so much for everything. I enjoyed it.
Comfortable about this because at some point, you know, we'll definitely be passing on the baton. I'm feeling a lot more comfortable about this.
That makes us feel very good on this.
That's-
We really
that's
have no
very
idea. That is
encouraging.
amazing. Absolutely.
Especially since we're in the beginning, oh no, some skepticism. Like,
Hey, well, you know, we wouldn't be who we were if we weren't.
I know.
Exactly. You want to be skeptical because you want to be mindful of who you're passing your legacy on to. Absolutely.
Right.
So
Well,
I'm glad we stepped up to meet your thing.
You're stepping up. Yes, stepping up. You know, so good job. See you all tomorrow. Have a great evening.
I think one of the things I've heard a lot, you know, is the consistency in terms of being consistent, just like when Nana Adjua and Nana AC, how they've been so consistent over the years in terms of the things that they do. And I think for us at Akom Kese, we want to be consistent with our messages too. So when we first came to all the shrine houses and said what we're interested in doing, we really want to stay in the vein of what we said we want to do. And then we're expecting you guys to hold us accountable for what we said. I mean, that's the whole point of community.
That's it. Well, you know, you have to follow the same attributes that Nana Yala first did. And consistency is key to continuing any culture in its essence and its purity. Yes, we want to grow. Yes, we want to meet up. And, you know, as things change, they do. But there's some things that don't change. And there's some basics that don't change. And if you look over the years from our historical interest, there's some things that have never changed. And we have to be clear on what those things are that have to stay pure.
Yes.
That's your challenge.
Yeah.
What needs to stay pure versus what can, you know, come up to 2021 or 2030 or 2050.
Yeah.
Some things need to stay pure and it needs to be clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is maybe at a source of a future Akom Kese. You know, what morals and values need to stay clear so that we can continue to be the Akans who are living a life that should be emulated. Anyway, I'll see you all tomorrow.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye, good night.
I was soon willing and the creek don't rise.
But that's the importance of understanding the why behind things. You know, if you understand why something is done, then you can know what can change and what can't change.
Right.
You have to change something. You will understand what you can use to change it. Yeah, I remember having a conversation years ago with someone about understanding, like, if you have to make adaptations, knowing how to do that. And when you don't know the why, it makes it very difficult to make adaptations and informed adaptations. So yeah. Okay.
Okay, no, really, get off the computer. Get up. I know your butt hurt. I know your legs hurt. Get up from the computer. Move. Go rub your eyes, all that. Turn the computer off. Go outside, people.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Medasio.
I think you can end it now, Kwesi.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.